All right, let's call to order the November 20th Town of Somerville Design Review Board meeting. First order of business is approval of the previous minutes. Someone like to make a motion?
Approval.
Any further comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. First up is the 300 West 2nd North Street, new construction of Town of Somerville Public Safety Complex.
All right, I'll just go over the staff report quickly. So this previously came before you for conceptual review back in April. At the conceptual review, they noted that while they approved of the overall design in general, a redder brick should be utilized instead of the proposed brick shown to be in line with typical Somerville vernacular. So great concerns. There might be someone who's coming in on Zoom. If you're on Zoom, if you could mute yourself, please. Let's see. The board raised concerns about proximity between the parking deck and residentially zoned property and requested the applicant look into solutions to soften this transition. The board also asked or advised that the plaza may be oversized and suggested looking into including more trees and natural elements to provide a more comfortable pedestrian experience. The applicant will need to advise how they have addressed these comments with their preliminary submittal. There are areas around the proposed parking travel aisles that do not meet the landscape requirement of UDO 8.5.2. In some locations, it does appear it would not be possible to meet the requirement due to site constraints. In other areas, it appears shrubs or continuous hedge were not applied. The DRB has the ability to approve reductions to the landscape requirements as needed. Staff would suggest that the applicant work with staff on identifying areas where the ordinance can still be met and a final landscaping can be provided to the DRB at their final approval meeting. And with that, I will hand it over to Frank.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee. My name is Frank Neal with the Town of Somerville. We are excited to be presenting to you our preliminary submittal for the public safety campus. We have addressed all those concerns. I guess the big elephant in the room was the brick color. We have really studied that in detail with a lot of hands in, a lot of visuals, and that brick color has come up time and time again as the top candidate, and the red brick has not been liked by anyone as we've gone through this process. The good news is we're starting demolition next month and starting construction soon after that. I do have the chief of police and our chief judge here that would also like to just comment on the facility. And then our architect has arrived.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for having us. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to stand before you, and thank you for obviously pushing forward with what we know we need here in the town, but also to have the aesthetic of what the town has and will become into the future. As stated by Mr. Neal, the brick color obviously was a matter of contention, I think, in the first conversation that we had. And, you know, I was pretty open to any of the colors. When we started looking at different colors, there were a lot of hands in the pot on this. The ad hoc committee, the committee, the architects, obviously the people who have been involved since the beginning, and even people who are considered Old Town Somervillians still felt that this color and this aesthetic was still pretty, and it was in line with what this town is and will continue to become. I know there was I believe this gentleman here had brought up Salisbury brick. I know when I came here 30 years ago, that was always the big talk, was the red brick. And certainly that is what you see when you go around town. And I'm also seeing a lot more of different aesthetic with brick and different shades and colors of brick. But I think this meets the needs of the futuristic look while also maintaining the niche of what is the town of Somerville, what we've been since 1847. So I just want to say that, and I just want to say thank you all so much. I know you have extensive backgrounds and stuff that I know nothing about other than what something looks like. And what I could tell you is the polling of our police officers, which we are the lion's share. We have the most employees in the department for the town of Somerville. I have almost 200 employees. And so over 400 for the town, and all of them are very keen on the aesthetic of what this looks like and what it's not gonna look like a monstrosity of something you just drive upon and says, man, nothing in this town looks like this at all. You can go down and look at HCA, you can, the hospital in Somerville, and a lot of the other buildings that are coming up, and they have similarities, also some differences than what this is, but this looks futuristic, but it also looks very bland in the fact that it's a service building for police, fire, and court, and appeasing to the eye of anybody who comes to this town, whether they're a visitor or a resident who pays taxes or someone who's paying a traffic fine. When they show up here, they know that they're at a place of government, they're at a place of prestige, and a place that well represents the men and women who wear uniforms, both police and fire, and robes in the court. So thank you.
Good afternoon, you all. Thank you for the opportunity to be before you again. For those of you to remember, my name is Brent Green. I'm an architect with Creech & Associates, and we've had the pleasure of working with the town of Somerville on the project that is before you. I have a couple of items on my agenda just relative to some of the things that he has brought up, but I'm assuming that based on this format, I need to leave it open and receive your questions first. So with that, I'll ask you, would you like for me to present, or what is the protocol here?
I would like you to present. Last time, I believe you were conceptual.
Yes, ma'am.
So we'd like for you to make your presentation, tell us your whys. Why did you do it this way? How does it tie into Somerville? Just kind of tell us what has transpired since then.
Great, thank you. I'll be happy to do that. So you have the package before you. I would hope that at a squint test, it would look similar to the last time that you saw it, because I think in like part, the concept has been carried forward, short of some of the adjustments that we've made relative to budget and then relative to some of your comments. So if we'll go forward with the next slide, please. I think you see here the overall conceptual site plan has remained the same. One of the things that we've talked about is those spaces that engage the street. We'll talk about that in more detail here in a couple more slides, just relative to transparency and how the building will offer views into that first floor as it addresses the street front. Next slide, please. So you're familiar with the site. It's obviously the parcels within the yellow squares, on both sides of West 2nd North. And then the next slide is the conceptual site plan. Again, I think, and its orientation is rotated 90 degrees. I apologize for that being confusing. So again, I think the site plan is in large part the similar as it was before. We have the main building, which is 3-story municipal police and municipal court building. If you all recall, one of the drivers in the beginning was to separate the entrances to these three facilities to the greatest extent possible. So they exist on the left end, center, and right end of the design. With the municipal court entrance being in the center on axis with the parking garage. All of those drivers remain the same, with the fire station and the fire administration being the 2-story facility located next to it. We did shift the entrance to the drive aisle to allow to maintain the large existing tree along West 2nd North. And then we have done another revision to the retention pond, just relative to how we can size that appropriately, maintain the flow in and out, and provide the amount of parking that's necessary for the fleet functionality and the throughway for fire apparatus bay access. You asked for floor plans, and of course, we'll be happy to provide those in a separate context. Typically, it's just a matter of practice to stay out of the public context with plans for a law enforcement facility. So we've included this, and we'll be happy to follow up with an addendum. Again, just wanting you to understand the layer of transparency in public spaces that happen along the front facade. So on the far left, you have the police lobby entrance. You will be able to access a hallway to the community room there, which is another community type oriented space shown there in the yellow, that orange tone. And then once you shift to the other side of the first floor plan there, you're into the court's entrance. So you're into the court's lobby, the security lobby, you see the stairwell there. Again, all transparent spaces that you'll have views into from the streetscape. Moving over across the colonnade into the fire station, of course, the apparatus bays themselves are glass doors, so they would offer views as well. And then we have the public lobby, which is the one sort of public space as offered to the streetscape. So I hope this partial plan at least illustrates to you all that we're thinking what you're thinking is that you're wanting transparency and view into the facility, into those public spaces, and the design does, in our opinion, accommodate that functionality. So here we are with the concept again, and I was just speaking to the entire elevation structure of being court in the center with police on the left and fire on the right, and the unifying element being the colonnade. And I think that's one of those unique combinations of elements that really helps us define, in our opinion, what makes this, feel like a project that belongs in Somerville. I'm going to talk about architecture of place in a moment. I think that's something that's really important to our firm, and I think part of that philosophy is really why we've chose this materiality. And I think I'll just choose this opportunity now to speak to this. And the last time we were with you, you all asked us to consider the standard red brick that's common to some of the facilities that you all have in the town. I think town spoke then on their pride. You heard the chief speak tonight, Frank as well. I feel like I probably did them a disservice and didn't speak my opinion very clearly on that last time. So I'm just going to take a moment here and do that. And I appreciate in advance the opportunity for y'all considering this perspective. Again, we're kind of about architecture of place. So one of the things that's the most important to us is to design a facility that belongs here, that feels like it belongs here. And I think all buildings, really, especially civic buildings, should sort of mesh with the built context that defines a place. Civic buildings are supposed to set the bar, raise the bar, according to Thomas Jefferson. So our project follows campus principles, same brick, same details in a campus structure, but the scale of a town is so much broader than that. And I guess we just ask, there's a difference between creating the rich fabric that you already have and then sort of creating this, mundane uniformity where we're sort of putting the same brick on everything. We love masonry. We applaud you for that. It's timeless. It's one of those palettes that sort of creates that load-bearing, lasting service to the community image that is really important to civic architecture. But we just don't feel like that, that also needs to align with using the same brick on every project. So this evening, we brought back the similar palette that we showed you last time. We understand the authority of this board and we respect that, but we just wanted to bring that back before you one more time with hopes that we might be able to reconsider that position as we have considered it, as Frank's put forth. We respect your service to the community, to the board, and firmly believe that this design as proposed reinforces sort of the principles of architecture of place. So with that, I'll say thank you. And that is why we have brought back the material palette that you see before you. Okay. Next slide. This is the aerial rendering where you can also see the colors. Again, I have the materials here. It is a buff brick. Of course. It is it's intended to be what's in the slides. And if there's a rendering issue with color palette, then I can apologize for. But that is the brick palette. It's the same brick palette that in theory we brought you previously. And
So it's not the one that's on page 10, previous page?
Yes. No, in theory, that is
Dark
the same.
brick? That's the same as that?
Yes, in theory it is. I apologize that the graphic doesn't match the materiality, but yes, what's in front of you right here is the proposed materials.
Great. Thank you.
What about
Texture.
the texture on the photograph?
Mhm.
Seems more rustic.
Okay, as opposed to a wire cut. Yeah, I think that's a very fair comment. That does represent a wire cut brick, if I'm not mistaken. We're certainly open to a tumble or a different type of face that loosens the edge on that.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. So again, discrepancies on the palette and the renderings, apologies for that, but this gives you the aerial rendering. Again, I think you begin to see here the left, center, and right towers that we've been speaking about that form kind of that composition that allows the entry points to be separated. You see that colonnade element that really is that unifying campus element that happens across the front. One of the comments from last time was to look at the plaza design and scale. And our landscape architect just, I believe, changed the dimensionality of some of the planters, but that space really is only about 30 feet wide at its widest point. And so that was one of those things where we wonder, since it's a long and narrow space, do we break that up with some sort of furniture or seating in lieu of something more permanent? Because if you'll recall, those planters, along with the bollards, form the force protection element for the facility that it requires because of its public safety functionality. You see the parking deck hinted at here in the front corner, as well as the fleet facility, single story at the rear. So this is the rendering from the street view. Again, should be similar to last time. And again, the brick on the towers is intended to be the brown brick that is in front of you. The field brick is the buff brick, the cast stone palette as you see it before here. Most of all of the glazing is envisioned as anodized aluminum, which gives it that kind of lightness of being. You'll see that brise soleil element that forms the main facade on the second and third floors, along with that canopy. And then really we have really added some brick detailing that we feels like, ties back to not only masonry vernacular, but just some of the detailing, perhaps, even in Somerville with some of those tails and ways that the cornice is articulated. Gone back and looked at areas where we have solid wall and, are using those thin niches as ways of adding visual interest without sort of replicating, filled in window panels and some of the other things that you see applied to blank wall architecture.
Do you have any more material samples? Because there's a lot of articulation and different textures on this building, on the renderings.
Mhm.
But I only see 3 samples. So are the spandrel panels supposed to match something? Are the cornices supposed to match something?
I think the cornice material,
What is laid? Do you have any more?
no, these are only examples that I have. I apologize if that is a short sighting on our part.
So
I think,
can you walk us through
sure, of course. So
each
again,
component
of course,
and what it's supposed to match or what it's supposed to contrast to and what that material is?
be happy to do that. So if you look at the main facade, again, it's classically oriented where we have base, middle, and cap, right? I think that's sort of the 3 primary elements. If you look at this end elevation of the fire station, you'll see the base. The base is consistently cast stone around the project, right? Which is the element on the small sample.
Can you go to pure elevation or something and then, I don't know if you're able to point to what you're talking about?
They look different than 10, so.
I know.
Mhm.
Peter, is this elevation?
Uh, yeah. All right, so let's talk about it in terms of, I hope that I can convey to you all pretty simply. Our envision is that the base of this element, which incorporates the water table below the windows, right? Yes, as well as the colonnade element itself. So everything in that vernacular material is a cast stone element. Those columns will be formed cast stone. The cornice will be cast stone. All of that exterior colonnade that you would be experiencing in this material. They're very traditional, very civic vernacular. Okay, and so that element is utilized. The cast stone is utilized in
Is those columns round? Are they
they are
square?
squared with chamfered edges. So it is actually a little bit of both, if you will. It's a detail that's pretty common to civic architecture in this vernacular. Okay.
So the cornice, you're referring to the lower cornice,
Yes, sir. The cornice on the colonnade element itself,
first, yeah, at the top of the first level.
the top of the first level. Yes, sir. Now,
So the upper cornice at the top of the third level is brick.
Yes, sir.
Dark brick.
That's correct. Everything above that cornice on the front facade is a masonry material that is brick. Yes. So,
And is there a roof on top of this colonnade?
yes, sir, there is.
And what's the finish of the underside?
The underside is actually cast stone panels as well. It has coffers underneath of it. We have some lighting underneath of there. So they will be actually like cove lit in each individual panel. So it'll be a very nice nighttime signature. The roof is actually done and built up on that small area because you will see some of that as you look out windows from the upper floors. The balance of roof is a membrane. So as you move vertically, again, I think the only areas on the building that have cast stone above the band that we just described is those vertical elements that hold up the brise soleil along the front of the main facade, those tall, thin elements. Those would also be articulated in the cast stone. So you have the cast stone now, you understand where that goes. The field brick is the buff that's in front of you. So that's what's represented in everything that is not shown as the darker brick, okay? Which is, as I said, the field. And then when you get to the cornice work and the towers, those being the two primary driver elements, you switch over to the darker brick. And that helps the tower stand out. It also helps us ground that cornice, and it gives it a little bit more, I would say, gravitas to hold the building down. So it is primarily a brick detail building with cast stone implemented as a base element as well as a colonnade element.
What are the little corbels it looks like at the top corners?
I'm glad you asked that. That's actually a way of paying homage to the CPW building. If you look at the detailing on that cornice, it's done with a really simple corbel and just some of those vertical legs that just kind of reach down. It's a version of that we had studied, and that's what we were implementing there. I think you asked a question about the balance of material palette. So the anodized aluminum forms the balance of the material palette. That is your material. That's your window frames. That is the panels themselves that live within the frames. All of that is envisioned as being the same material. So it's really a restricted palette in that.
Is it natural aluminum?
Anodized aluminum is the current quote specification.
And the panels?
The same. It has that specular quality, right? We're trying not to be flat. And again, a lot of times that just reads as white in certain light, but
So let me understand. So that's clear anodized aluminum.
yes, sir.
Don't you think that's going to have a cheaper common effect to all the other surrounding architecture versus something of I don't mind the anodized aluminum, but certainly clear anodized, that's like any storefront versus a color.
I think we could certainly investigate that.
I would
think
say-
we find clear anodized to be a specular component that elevates the frames. Otherwise, you end up with a bone white or something that is flat and sort of serves in that vernacular. That's the reason why we use that pretty commonly as a window.
Did you have an in-depth discussion with the client about, because there's a lot of that metal?
There is. I think that we've talked in depth about all these aspects of the elevation, so I have to answer yes to that.
I would just ask that for the next presentation, you bring a sample of that.
Absolutely. Yes, thank you. I will be glad to do that.
But my opinion that it sort of, I hate to use the word because it's a very high quality product
Yeah.
you're creating.
You hurt my feelings when you said cheap. Yeah, I hear you.
It already slipped out of cheap. You get it.
So I think that whole thread was about trying to define where the materials live on the elevations. Was that a helpful discussion?
Yes, sir.
I have a question about the columns still.
Yes.
You said they're square?
So yes, ma'am, they are square columns. They are 20-inch squares, but once you get above 6 inches, there is a curved chamfer that happens, which softens them. So they're,
Right.
I don't know that you can see it in any of the rendering. Yeah, so they are not square. They don't have pointy edges like when you walk
they've
by,
got a
it's not
rounded
going to
edge.
scrape you. It has a concave edge detail on each of the corners.
And are they double in portions? See how there's another one behind it?
So typically what happens is, yes, there will be one that is out that's forming the edge of the colonnade, and then there is one against the building that receives it. That's traditional language for how that beam is translated from the column back to the wall. And it's a little bit challenging to see here, but but there is literally one of those pilasters in line with each one of those columns engaged in the wall. That's what creates those coffers inside of each one of those bays as you make your way through
Okay,
there.
so as we look at this, it looks like some of the columns are very white and some of them are very yellow. What color are they?
No.
They are all the cast stone. They would, all
All
the
the
columns would
cast
be
stone.
the cast stone material. That may be an effect of the
Just the
rendering lighting.
shadow of the way
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
printed or?
That might be one of the renderings challenges.
That's anodized metal.
Looking at this 3D image,
Hmm.
I actually think stainless steel, probably can't afford stainless steel, but something bright metal would really,
Set it all.
oh my God.
I think we're on the same page there. I'm very happy to take that away and look at that.
So the use of the building is 3 floors in the,
Oh, yes, ma'am. I can talk about that. So the
Go
first,
ahead,
yeah,
please.
the police a municipal court building is 3 floors. So you have the main tower there in the center. On the ground level, that's the entrance to the courts as well as to part of the PD. When you go on that entrance, you have the opportunity to, you will, go through the scanner, and then you can go upstairs to court, or you can go through a secure boundary and be back into another part of the police department. So that's a public zone all within that area there. When you go into the police tower on the left, obviously you're into that public lobby, and then there is that access along those windows there to the community room, which is a community room that seats around 50 people that could be open for events, that is separated securely from the rest of the facility, that will have a brand wall that will also serve for press releases and public information. When you go to the right there, of course, that's the entrance to the fire tower. That's the least public engaging. So you have a public lobby there, and then you have a secure vestibule that is behind that. Hopefully that answers your question.
And are all the rooftop mechanical units or equipment screened?
Yes, we were hoping for a penthouse. That was one of our budget challenges. And so we are going with a full height mechanical screen that would align with the height of the tallest unit.
And on the rendering we're looking at to the far left, as you're looking at it, what is the gray there?
That on the first floor?
Yeah.
So
what
there is a
that?
special space kind of on that part of the plan. That is where there is a citizen contact room, and the duty officer lives over there. So it's a node that bumps out on that side of the facade. It might be better viewed as we looked at the composition from the other direction. And that was, it's one neat node. Yes, you can see it right there. No, ma'am, it's on the right-hand side over there to the, yes, right there. So that is a 1-story element that lives on that floor only. And that particular element was done in entirely sort of that metallic and metal panel component. It was to add some unique interest to that facade. That facade is an extension of the front. And so we're really trying to sort of add another element, that didn't compete with the tower, but that let that public space be important.
Are the fire department doors clear glass, opaque panels?
They're
Any thoughts?
They're clear currently, and I think he's not here. I think that's part of what we've been discussing. I think the idea of seeing those vehicles is of interest, right? It sort of activates, it's about activating the frontage along there, right?
Agree.
I think the only concern I have is back to the brick color. I think that the mastering is good, the detailing is good. I appreciate that it ties into the CPW building. I'd be on board with the brick color if it were anywhere but downtown Somerville. I think there's a little contextual issue there. I hear what you're saying. I hear what staff has said, what chief said, hear what Frank said there. But that's the only concern I have. And the fact that the brick is a wire cut with kind of sharp edges is a little bit different from what I would see just looking out the window.
I think that's fair.
So I don't know if that needs to be maybe a tumbled brick or something, but if you look around town, most of the bricks have color variation within the brick itself instead of just one kind of this monoculture brick, even if it's brown and
I
the
agree.
pan. So that's something I'm just not comfortable with. I think we consistently have pushed back on lighter colored brick in Somerville. And now we get a town building that's willing to be the lighter colored brick, and it really puts us in a difficult situation and opens a precedent. I'm uncomfortable with that. At least it's not painted. We've definitely kind of pushed back on painted brick. I think for a project of this significance, I think we need to have a sample panel. That's what you would expect on projects of this size and scope. And I think that could alleviate some concerns.
So Chris,
Mhm.
like thinking, I'm just wondering if we stick with the lighter, which will be a lot of the building, but the darker was a darker that we thought was better, that might, those two things, I don't know, but I'm like you, it's flat to me. There's no, and what I'm afraid of is it's gonna look like a brown building, which some of those things have come across and
We already got some we don't like.
that we don't like. And so I'm worried that it's gonna be that flat tan brown color. But I'm wondering if you stuck with the light color, but the darker was a more red, rich color to go with the light, perhaps that would help. I don't know.
And that's a great point. I don't think any of us are saying red like fire station red or fire truck red. It's just,
Speak dark.
this building has some reddish undertones.
Yeah.
And I think there is historic significance to the Salisbury bricks,
Right.
which the town is, I mean, downtown is built for that. So,
And I think you talked about, it would be better if the brick were not so even.
Yeah.
So.
And a flat color too.
Yeah.
Like even if you
Right.
look at Louise on here,
Mhm.
Louise, the color, there's variation.
Flat,
Some are
right.
darker,
Yeah.
some are lighter. It just doesn't look flat.
I know you've given us something to look at here. I want to explain that, but would say the two on Cedar Street, we've gotten pushback from, and they were not successful. So that we're not wanting to duplicate that, but
We just picked those up as the most close context to us of that scale. I mean, literally, those are the two commercial buildings closest to our site. And so that is our most immediate context, as it exists, regardless of that. But I understand your position on that. I think the idea here, and I'm hearing what you're saying, and I'm not trying to push back. Our last kind of thought on that is like, this is the high building. This will be the high building on this corridor, right? It's your municipal court function. It's a statement. And even though we want that corridor to continue to develop, I don't know that anything will come online that will be of more significance than that. So from our opinion, if not this building warranting that variety, that leniency, then what building would? And I'll just leave it at that. But I think that's our position on the bricks.
alrighty, and we, is the garage part of that project, this project, because you haven't really described it architecturally?
It is, and I think the campus as a whole is all done in the same materiality. So the materials for the garage are thin bricks that align with exactly whichever bricks that we'll.
Before we
Yes,
jump to the garage, we'll go back to the main building elevation.
of course.
And I think on all municipal buildings, especially of this importance in Somerville, there needs to be a night vision
Yes,
of
sir.
this. And it has to be dramatic and
Should have put that in.
so if you don't have the night image yet, we'd like you to develop it for the next presentation
Yes, sir.
and show us what this monumental building is going to look like at night.
We actually had one in the previous version and need to update for you. It's very exciting. We worked with a national designer. We've actually put a great deal of thought into the nighttime signature of that. So I look forward to sharing that with you.
Okay. So you can go on to the garage now.
So I was speaking to the idea that the reason we haven't talked about its materials is because they are the same, right? I think the idea is that the brick translates into thin brick. We have the same darker brick in whatever form it ends up in on the towers. We have the lighter brick as the field, just like on the we have the darker brick surrounding the windows like we do on the other facility. We have open frames. Now there's not glass in these, but it has that same frame with that same finish that creates that look in the tower. And again, we have canopy and we have the same civic lantern. So I think the material palette is literally the same as just described. And its intent is to be implemented in a very similar way.
What's the pedestrian experience walking in front of this garage?
The pedestrian experience being, it's a short 2-story facility. You
Is
can
this,
see
is this the elevation?
it is, and you see the scale figure there. So again, I think the openings break down the scale of the garage as a whole. I think we have kind of window patterns that replicate what you see across the street relative to things being paired. So the idea was to try and translate those bays literally to the parking deck. Of course, we're working with the bay structure that parking decks are designed around, but within that vernacular.
I think what we're going to segue to eventually, after we get off the architecture, is the pedestrian plaza, the walkways. But before we move on to that, and that would apply to this side of the street also.
It applies to this facade as well as the.
I thought it appeared on the site plan that this building is pushed back to the north as much as it could.
That is correct.
And I'm just concerned of the shadow that a three-story building on that end would cast on the neighbor's yard. And I think everyone is entitled to sunshine and atmosphere. So again, if you can come back next time with a sun study to make sure that you're not casting.
Do you have any, what are the neighbors?
Oh, yeah,
about?
there's
We have not spoken with the neighbors behind it. Is that what you're asking
I
me?
mean, what
No
back-
neighbors.
those houses.
There is a residential structure there. I believe the property is zoned commercial, if I'm not mistaken, but there's a structure there. Yeah.
There's all-
I'd just like to comment, the colors on the parking look good because it's not so massive. But when you go to that 3 stories and those long windows and it's just becomes massive and the colors are too striking. They're just not. I don't think they're what Somerville wants for a building. Personally, I really do not. It's a little too dressy. I don't know if another word to say for it.
The
It's
parking deck
just-
or the main facade, the main facility?
It's the architecture on it.
The main facility.
Building, but this one or the?
No, the main building. Mhm. It's just too much. And when you put all that white on it, it's even more. So
So that's another lean toward a darker color on the facade.
I don't know what you got to do, but it needs to calm down a little bit.
I think that's, I'd have to ask for something more specific than that. I'm not exactly sure how to address. calling it
It's-
that.
It's too ornate looking for me. For me. Now, it might not be for the rest of them, and that's okay, but this is a building that takes care of the people in our town and that kind of thing. And for me, I need something a little more normal.
Are you saying
This is just too ornate.
You're
All
saying
of
it's
this
a little-
is too ornate.
it's a little too urban and
Look,
metropolitan versus small
absolutely,
townish?
absolutely.
So a couple of things to respond to that. One, if we did red brick, it would look even more.
I
would be-
agree
it would-
with you.
This is softening. That is our biggest concern. If you have red brick on both sides, all the way down, it's going to be imposing. This is light and inviting. It's a civic building. We need to take that into consideration. This is a civic building. This is not a business building. It's not a business. Civic in nature. The federal courthouse is what I brought up with Rebecca. Federal courthouses are built all over the country, white cast stone. Would y'all not allow that here? Because it's white? So that's one thing. The other thing is of the ornateness of it. We want it to be a beautiful building. I mean, we want this to be a beautiful building. The other thing that the chiefs didn't talk about, what we've taken into consideration a lot, is having a place where these guys can come and decompress. And that's been a driving factor throughout this whole design. So I think we need to get out of the mindset of it's a business. This is a civic. We hope to last 100 years. So that's all I want to say to those comments.
Thank you. No one up here said this was a business. We realize this is a civic building and the importance. That's why we're dialing in so much to the details. Okay? And that's why these are so important.
They are to us as well.
I kind of like it.
What's that, sir?
I like it.
Well, thank you.
Let me,
I appreciate that. I don't mean to make light of that. I do appreciate that.
Company I work for built the building you're in now.
Yes. that-
Oh, yeah, that's a
Yes,
big difference.
Big improvement for them. We're excited.
I was sitting there the other day filling out a police report and, that's something after vandalization of my property at the office in Richards. So I was filling out a police report and looking very proud of the interior of that building. It's held up well for 30 some odd years.
It's served the community very well. Yes, sir.
let me ask you something on, you know, the context of the building and the precedence of the building and the importance of the building, are you utilizing any sustainability
We have taken,
features in this building? Because I think that would be very important in a civic building, that you do emphasize sustainability. So go ahead.
no, I couldn't agree with you more. I'm LEED certified, so I'm supposed to be a proponent of that. And we started off, as we always do, with some aggressive goals on sustainability that ultimately we have to align with scope and budget. And so the things that I would highlight in here are the energy efficient lighting, the LEDs, an efficient mechanical system. We did not go with a VRF or something a little bit more progressive, just for longevity and maintenance concerns, as opposed to, so we prioritize the ability to service the equipment over coming up with something a higher performing that perhaps would be challenging to serve over the long term. We have passive solar techniques that you've seen as we're using shading on the southeast and southwest exposures. And so certainly any of those, what we would call low hanging fruit items that are sustainable, that have almost become non-budget impacts, we are going to implement and have implemented in the specifications and design of this project.
I think you should consider, again, low hanging fruit, because I do understand budget.
Mhm.
Certainly doing something with your rainwater,
Excellent idea.
you know. I don't know, we haven't talked about the plaza, which we will segue into. I don't know if you ever thought about a simple water feature that would utilize rainwater drain off in some important way, so that, you know, the citizens of Somerville can be, we want them to be proud of this building also. And we want them to teach the future generations of what is good design and what is good sustainability features.
I think
And that you incorporated that, because you're not building another, you know, public facility building on the north side of Somerville, hopefully. But this is gonna be it. This is gonna be your flagship. And I think with a flagship civic building, it needs to have important items incorporated that the public can embrace, be proud of. You know, we know that all the occupants of this building are going to be proud of this building. We want the citizens of Somerville to be proud of this building too. So
great comments.
I would suggest that you investigate some low hanging fruit, and not just LEDs, not just energy efficient, you know, mechanical systems, but do something that is accessible to the public, that the, you know, schools can have a field trip and say, this is an example of good sustainable design.
Building as a learning tool, which is a great idea. Thank you for putting that forth.
One of the things, we're looking at like we're 500 feet from this building, looking at the elevation. We're only gonna be 60 feet away from the building looking up. So we're not gonna see full face of this building like
Right.
this.
That's right.
We're gonna look up, we're gonna see a lot of things we're not seeing here. We're gonna look at it from like that.
Yes, sir.
And it's really gonna look imposing, I think. I think it's gonna look nice.
We're
But the
hoping,
view corridor is very narrow and short.
Becca, can you go to one of the perspectives? Because we had a question about the brackets. Candy just wanted to see the brackets,
is it graphics?
the brackets
Oh,
or the
brackets.
bracing.
So the Brise Soleil, we sort of took a take on sort of seeing it's sort of constructive. So instead of singular posts, it's two that sort of are held by a pivot point, and then they receive a piece that's, you know, a beam, if you will, that comes out from the facade. And that is, it's layered expression, right? It's sort of almost looking at it as if it were done in wood, but it's done in the anodized or maybe stainless steel, aluminum. It's
This view of the building right now is much more saleable than the other view. This is a good view. This is excellent.
Thank you. Is there concern about the canopy design?
Not for me.
I will also point out while we're having this kind of discussion, you know, the civic lanterns that were a really big component of kind of what will create the nightscape that you will help create the nightscape that you were speaking to earlier. We have envisioned those as being lightly frosted. And again, instead of having that clear glass, which is much more difficult to manage how you lit light from the inside, something that we're working toward is having a light frost on that so that will permit that even glow, not cow wall, not anything like that. But I do want to bring that to your attention while we're having this type of discussion.
As far as colors go, a lot of times on buildings like this, I see that those brackets or those overhead elements are a darker color instead of the white.
Mhm.
Did you have any thoughts on that or how you got to the decision you did?
We did. We even teased ourselves at one point that we could do them out of wood or something that would sort of tie back to pine. But the more we looked at that, because it was far into the rest of the palette and the palette is restricted, it seemed outside. We don't really have anything in a brown metallic or wood element that lives here. That being said, that is a unique element on this facade that sort of forms one of its main visual characteristics. So that would be something that we could certainly look at options for.
Yeah, typically we would see something in a Charleston green or what's a little bit trendy lately is kind of that, I don't know the color, but it's kind of this steel or a dark bronze or something. I'm not giving you direction or suggesting that direction is, but I would say something you could consider. I still think that color wise, this does not look regionally like it is in the Low Country. And I think that's because of the brick color and the white. It looks a little bit more South Florida than it does Low Country. So that's just something I'm trying to wrap my head around, and I'll consider that more prior to the next meeting. Are there any other comments regarding architecture before we move on to site? All right, let's go to site.
Do it. Yes, ma'am. It was in the site packet. I think we put the entire site package in there. It might be one of the last sheets. It's usually the prettiest one in there. I should have pulled it out. I wanted you all to have everything. Oh. Here we go.
You want to start zoomed in on the main building first, so you guys can take a closer look?
I think what I'd like to focus on is the public realm. So whatever shows that the best, which would be, near the streets. So how wide is the plaza in front of where it says courts entry?
The building main facade is 50 feet from the right of way, from the actual curb line. So the stairs come out, again, another 12 feet, 15 feet, and then you have the plaza up above there. So does that give you, I mean, that entire dimension from the doors to the curb edge proper, not the angled parking, is 50 feet
So how wide is it from?
wide. Oh, I'm sorry. From the stairs themselves. Let's see.
Plaza, the word plaza that looks like it's brick.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're speaking about the crosswalk element. Yes, that is 12 foot wide.
The crosswalk is 12 feet wide.
Well, if you're talking about where this word plaza is, that's effectively a 12 foot wide space.
12 foot wide. So then on each side of that, there's a JB on the right. It says JB.
I'm sorry.
Her cursor's on it.
Oh, I see. JP.
So how wide is that from right side where the JB is to the left side where cursor is?
Oh, okay.
Approximately.
Sorry. That's 20 feet. And I'm guessing, obviously, I'm
Sure.
rounding.
Just trying to get a sense of
Scale.
scale.
Yes, sir. The colonnade, the colonnade is on a 9'8" grid, so almost a 10-foot grid at the columns, if that gives you another element of scale. That dimension, yeah, the dimension between those. And then, of course, the doors there, the double doors are your 6-foot module.
Any chance of making the angle parking 90 degree?
I think we would love that.
I think you could, because that street, North Street is very lightly traveled. So crossing, you're coming from the opposite direction that the parking indicates. 90% of the time you're coming from Maple Street or whatever. But 90 degrees would be a lot better than angle parking.
We definitely had that, I think, in the earlier concepts. I don't want to speak out of turn. I think there was a civil or some type of constraint or a preference for angled parking as opposed to head in because it's along the street. But
I think that's, Bill, I think the town engineers typically want those to be angled.
I don't know why.
Probably where,
That came from internal, yes.
The town engineers are all gone, so you got a whole nother group of engineers now. But 90 degrees makes more sense because you're gonna maybe have to cross the line of traffic, but it's not that heavy traffic. Very little light traffic is what you see there. And having to go around the block to get into the parking spots is not real good.
Be happy to take that up as a,
I'd try it.
and what are the things labeled JB?
JB, I'm assuming, is junction box in the grand scheme of site planning, but
That's kind of what I'm thinking too, but I don't know.
we're in bad places. Again, this is our design development set, so we're 50% through, and there's obviously some coordination of elements like that.
Sure.
that needs-
I want to bring it up now because if there's an above ground junction box in the middle of the sidewalk,
Yeah,
that's a,
which they would be below ground, and we would not want them to be in any kind of visual location.
And then the- to the left of the word plaza, I believe there's a fire hydrant right in front. Which, you've got these beautiful renderings and a fire hydrant's gonna stick right in front of it. I know you have to have a fire hydrant, but does it have to be right there?
I think
You
that's
know,
very valid comment.
or can it be on the building or? I don't expect you to have an answer to that today, but I just want to point it out.
Thank you.
And then in the rendering, it showed that the elevated crosswalk had a specialty paving on it. But it's not shown here. Do you know what that is?
Stamped concrete was the intent behind that, I believe is what we've been discussing.
Okay, stamped concrete has a maintenance issue that the town would have to take on.
It does.
This
We-
concrete unit pavers may be a better solution.
I think we're open to either of those. I think we're looking for the least maintenance solution in that regard.
Sure.
I think our intent is there is just to call that out as a special walkway. So
Yeah, we're gonna want to dial into those materials for your next one, I think. But no, they'll have to tint it it's just an ongoing maintenance issue. Oh, you mean integral? Yeah. Potentially. Yeah, if it's a dye that goes inside the concrete instead of painting on top. Yeah.
Is that also intended to be a speed bump?
it is in somewhat a traffic control device. as you're
That's
going
great.
through. Yes.
And that's on a public street.
And it's at a crosswalk where we're moving people back and forth from municipal courts. I mean, all that together was sort of why we went with that application.
Okay. It's gonna slow any emergency vehicles that are exiting going that direction.
We had that conversation with them. They were,
Okay,
I think they
that's
were
fine.
more in line with having that than not.
That's
So
great.
I think that's a valid point.
Great.
Can you explain? I'm confused on the east side of the elevation. The doors are right on the plaza. But then at the court entry, they're elevated by steps. So what's happening on the interior there? Is that a flat floor or?
No, the grade slopes about 7 feet from the far right to the far left. And
Do you have a drawing of that?
it actually shows in the elevations. It's just so subtle that you can't see it.
Okay,
So the reason that we have part of the, not the reason, one of the other benefits that colonnade provides is it is also addressing at grade and accessible entry into the courts. So you have that opportunity, as you should at a courthouse, to go upstairs to the front door. But if you have an accessible means, then you can also come in the colonnade which stays up at the primary grade, and make your way in. So we have addressed that from two different perspectives in terms of how you enter that. It also afforded us, like I said, the opportunity to lift up the entrance and give it that civic importance.
And I'm sorry if I missed this. Did you mention what the paving materials were in the plaza?
We are looking at a combination of scored concrete and brick pavers. I think that's currently what the palette is. And the planter walls themselves are actually currently brick as well. We went back and forth on that. So they would be whichever brick we end up with on the building, that would be in theory on the vertical faces of those walls as well.
Okay. And if you dial into the planting plan, the trees in the planter boxes,
Mhm.
you have 2 trees on the plant schedule that have the same symbol. So I don't know what that tree is.
Okay.
I think it's a crepe myrtle, but I don't know for sure. I would encourage you to consider something different, i.e. a willow oak, something that's going to get a lot taller, bigger. You can plant those about 30 foot on center. Something to think about or discuss with the town. Because when I look at the perspectives and the elevations, it looks hot. You know,
Fair.
so anything we can do to encourage shade
Mhm.
and still be safe. I would request you to take a look at that. And one of the things that I think, and Bill, you're right on the money, we're not really going to see this entire facade like is shown on the rendering. But, you know, the chief has done a great job with interacting with the community. And I mean, I think it's a model that's been studied by other communities in the nation about how Somerville is so friendly, particularly that relationship with police and the citizenship. But I want to be super careful that this building is inviting and not imposing. Right now, it seems a little imposing. And I think that maybe is what Candy's talking about. Maybe those are kind of dialing my concerns. I think you can alleviate that with considering the color and considering anywhere that you can have shade, put shade in, having the material on your ground plane, wherever you're touching, have that kind of that human scale material. So I like that you're using brick in the on the ground plane. And at this building, which I think is successful, it has bluestone in limited areas, not all of it's bluestone. So just kind of consider those materials, because I think, and the reason I was asking you so much about the size of the plaza is because that's very important, and it needs to look inviting when the public goes up there and really study. I don't quite understand. You don't have to get into it, but the right side, you said it was where the public comes in, maybe after hours or something, or if they just need to talk to someone on staff. Make sure, I think it's all the way over to the right, make sure that plaza is well detailed and kind of that human scale. And I think that will, I think that'll just make it more inviting to the public. And I know the police have talked about that in the past. That's very important to them. So just limit the concrete wherever you don't need it. And I was looking at the drawings earlier. I think it might be right in the center. I'm not 100% sure anymore that kind of that hatched area is artificial turf.
Yes.
Can you explain why?
Between the two buildings?
Correct. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah,
Mhm.
that actually was a request at both police and fire because it's an extension of their fitness area. So they both have fitness areas that open onto that, and that would be used for CrossFit and any of those things as we can extend the experience outdoors.
Makes sense.
Have you considered parallel parking at the front of the building to give more plaza space and make it more, again, inviting? Because it seems that, I don't know if people are going to be walking from east to west. Eventually there will be. You've narrowed down the sidewalk dramatically with this angled parking. And when you're building a garage, when you have all this land of parking for the municipal vehicles in the back of the house, I don't know why you need to eat up so much valuable frontage with diagonal parking.
Believe me, they need it. They don't have enough parking now, and they're gonna have virtually the same amount with this building as they have now. But you go to the police station, you want to pull in and park in front, you can hardly find a space. to
But they're
park.
gonna have a parking garage across the street.
Oh, they do have.
I-
parking.
I'm not questioning. Obviously, they know what kind of parking they need.
Mhm.
I'm just, again, concerned about the pedestrian experience.
Well,
That once I start walking east to west, that I have to go around all these things versus having a nice open plaza with benches, with azaleas, with all this colorful landscaping. Again, it's a public building.
with 90-degree parking, back up another 2 or 3 feet.
It would take up more, actually, yes, to your point. So that's certainly something we can look at. I mean, I agree.
I would like you to take a look at
No,
that.
it'll be less than 90 degree.
I'm sorry.
It'll only be 18 feet with 90 degree. But 18-foot depth of parking. Maybe.
That's right. I'm sorry. You're
Does the public have access to the back? Or is that all,
No, sir. So
that's all
yeah.
call it private space?
There's a gate right down at you can see it there on the plan, bottom right over there, sort of like a
Okay.
double swinging gate. And then
Alright.
of course, the lot is secured from the rear as well,
So the public will park in those angle spaces
or in the garage.
or the garage. The angle spaces are probably all gonna be handicapped.
There will definitely be a portion of those that will be allocated.
For
that
ADA,
functionality. Yes.
Okay.
And that meets the proximity criteria and makes that really kind of well.
All right,
We
anything
also
else?
have, sorry, the first spaces inside the garage, right inside the first floor by the entrance will be the accessible spaces in the garage, again, trying to promote as close proximity to entry points as possible.
I think on your next submittal, we should go ahead and show all the ADA spaces. So we have a better understanding, because I think whether it's parallel or these angled or they're 90 degrees, it's all gonna be ADA. More than likely.
Will do.
Oh, one other thing I saw in planting was this is Flower Town in the Pines, known for azaleas. There were maybe 20-25 azaleas on this entire project.
Not enough.
Not enough. Seems like it could be a little bit more Somerville local plant palette. And this is, I think a little bit of tweaking you can get there.
Great comment.
Any other comments on site? Or any questions or anything else you wanna? I know we haven't really talked about all the buildings in the back or the pond you mentioned, or maybe staff mentioned it. Is there anything else you feel you need to
You
mention?
have a fence going around the back,
Yes.
and what is that fence construction?
It's right now it's vinyl coated chain link unless you're facing the two streets, and then we're using a vertical aluminum picket.
Is that the private, that's okay with the
That's what-
police, fire?
Yes, I mean, we're providing a secure perimeter, obviously, through those two methodologies. Two fence types.
Barbed wire,
Sorry.
barbed wire?
We've gone back and forth on that. Currently, no, but I think that, we're also, to be honest, that's still on the table as we're thinking about the most appropriate type of security. You say no?
No, sir.
That's what I thought.
We're satisfied with the perimeter security we'll have with what we're suggesting.
Thank you, Doug.
Was there a point about the pond that you wanted to make?
Not necessarily, other than to say, clearly that was one of the buttons I think that we talked about early as a concern as we've evolved the engineering. Clearly it serves multi-functions. It is part of the stream, so we had to maintain the flow in and out, but it is also serving as device on site. So I know our team's been working to solve that, and I think we feel very confident about the solution that's been put forth. It's really important to provide spaces outside of the garage for the fleet functionality, and that's really where that decision to go underground came from.
Can we see the entire site plan back up?
The one thing that I think y'all haven't gone over would be, they have added a living wall on the back side of the parking garage
Thank you.
to soften the transition.
That was a comment, I believe, from you last time or someone.
Yeah, it was Mr. Westbrook.
I thought so, yeah. So we did go back and add that. That's it. And that shows on the elevation. And I think we actually looked at one iteration where we had sort of panels of it with space between. And then the evaluation internally was, no, that's not enough. It needs to cover more of the facade. And so. And again, we're showing it as if it is, a fully mature, lush, green wall, which ultimately it will be. But I think that's the idea, is that you still have these panels. They come in sections. So we'll marry 2 or 3 of them together. So it reads as the deck structure. So we'd express the column and then you'd have green wall. It sort of goes with the modularity of the product.
Looks great. Any other comments on site or architecture at this point? Justin, and Candy? Peter?
Nope.
Get down there. Okay. Anything else you would like to mention or?
No, but I'd like to say thank you. Thank you for the dialogue and for the opportunity to share our thoughts.
No.
It doesn't go without notice, and we appreciate the service that you all provide.
Thank you as well. And, I know this was a very healthy dialogue. To those not used to this process, this seemed like it was a little tedious. This is normal. This is what we as architects and designers do. This is the role of this board. And I think we are all trying to help this get there. And I think you're on track. It's the little details we need to work through. But I think at the end of the day, it will be a successful project and an asset to the town for
And
sure.
that's exactly what we want. So thank you for saying that.
All right. So with someone, they're asking for
Preliminary.
preliminary approval.
So I make a motion with the following caveats and issues to address. Number one, that the wire cut brick is not acceptable. It should be more rusticated. And that you still have to bring some supplemental material to convince us that these exact colors are the right exact colors.
Very fair.
Next is all the metal on the facade. It should be a bright metal versus a dull aluminum. That you bring sample boards of everything, all the metal. That there is a exterior lighting concept plan that you're going to execute for the main building and the garage. That there is a sun study on the garage to make sure we're not affecting the neighbors. That there's more investigation in the plaza and the landscaping and make it more pedestrian friendly and perhaps wider by changing the parking orientation. That there's more development on the landscaping with all the comments Chris had. And that hopefully you'll be able to come up with some sustainability feature that will make this building unique besides just the look. And if there's anything else I missed,
I think the only other thing was calling out the materials on the site plan, anywhere that's paved, pavers versus concrete, et cetera.
again, material board.
Material. Absolutely.
Would you add studying the civil or infrastructure elements to make sure that you don't have a junction box right in the middle,
Sure.
front
Yeah,
door?
utility coordination on civil. Yes.
Coordination of the civil, so we don't have a junction box in the middle. I assume the city is okay with this speed bump in the middle of the road.
Yes.
Okay.
Anything else?
Nope.
Right, is there a second? Second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you all very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good trip back.
Thank you very much.
All right, next is thank you guys. Next is Sawmill Center.
All right, so
Recuse
This-
on this one, Becca. I'm
yes.
gonna recuse.
So this came before you for conceptual back on 9/25. There actually wasn't a quorum, I believe, for y'all to vote on this. So they were asking for preliminary previously. In my staff report, I did mention that at this point, they appear to be meeting all zoning requirements. So if the board chooses to grant final approval at this point, that would be appropriate. But the rest of the staff report, at the previous meeting, the board had expressed interest in the architecture incorporating some steel elements featured on the other buildings within the sawmill development. Y'all had also asked the applicant to study the potential of trim details and shed roofing in the next submittal. But that is all I had. As I mentioned, all other comments had been addressed for staff. One of y'all got to get up there.
Hey, how's it going? My name is Drew Nelson. I'm part of the civil engineering team on this project. There weren't really any comments on the site, so I'm here to answer if there's any questions on that. The site hasn't changed since the last time you've seen it. I'll let
Any comments?
Chris explain architecture.
I'm Chris Altman with SMHA Architects. The comment about the steel was the request to introduce some of the Corten that we're using on some of the other buildings into this project. And so that's what we've done. On that north elevation, the primary facade there is a vertical corrugated Corten. The graphics doesn't show it very well, but it's a ribbed Corten steel. And then if you go to the side elevations, it's actually, I'm sorry, it only shows up on the Berlin-G-Myers elevation side. So we have a vertical cementitious in those little hyphen areas between the brick. That was the only change from last time to this time.
Can you go back to the Berlin-Meyer elevation?
That'd be the bottom elevation.
That's the north elevation.
Yes, sir.
Any further idea what type of tenants are there?
Not yet. I haven't been told.
Don't even know yet, Rob.
No, I think they're in the process of identifying those.
Be retail
Yes.
office.
So for the roof, you have asphalt shingle. Is that what you typically used everywhere else? I thought it was metal.
We have used it on the larger buildings. We felt the scale of this building would be more appropriate to have the shingle feel, just a softer feel than the other buildings, and just trying to add a little bit of variety to what we're doing there.
What is this building, 75 feet long? 90.
Not even that long. So those are 20-foot bays, so around 65 feet roughly. So it's there you go, 62. Thank you. Yeah, so it's not a big building.
Have you selected that asphalt shingle? Is it opaque gray as it's shown, or does it match something? Because it is sort of prominent on the
Sure.
Berlin-Myers elevation.
We have not made a final decision. It would be an architectural, upper grade level type.
Is there what other building has asphalt shingles?
I believe there's some on the apartments, but I don't know it for sure. The apartments have it on their. Okay, we didn't do the apartments, so yes.
And your logic was versus metal was what again?
It's just a smaller scale building, and so it's almost of the scale of a residence in that regard compared to the other larger buildings we're doing on the property. So we just felt like it would be appropriate for the scale, and just trying not to replicate literally everything we're doing on the other buildings.
What is the structure of it? Re-engineered building, is it wood?
Yes, sir.
frame?
It'll be no metal stud framed with
Metal stud
steel,
frame
with
with
some steel
truss.
supports for trusses. Yes, sir.
Wood truss, basically. So asphalt gray would,
Yes, sir. We were not proposing any kind of out of the ordinary dark color. I mean, like a white or a sanded type asphalt shingle. We wouldn't look to do that.
Can we look at the Berlin-Myers site area and access to these buildings along the sidewalk? Just real quick.
Look at it. That's access.
Isn't there an elevation change? What, looks like this is flat.
Yeah, on the grading plan, you can see there's a few contours up top. It's probably about 4 feet from lower than Berlin G. Myers from the top there.
That's about right. You've kind of handled that with the radius on the sidewalk, though, putting an arc on the sidewalk,
Exactly.
getting into the lower plane.
So this sidewalk that's continuous along Berlin Myers, that's flat, relatively flat.
Correct.
64 to 64. Is that what it is? No glasses. Oh, the sidewalk goes 64 to 64 contour. 67 is up your street.
And what is the landscaping concept between doors? Do you happen to know?
No, I don't.
It looks like shrubs and few trees, 3 or 4 trees.
And that's in front of Glassdorf? Oh, no, it's in front of the Core 10.
That's correct. On the Berlin G. Myers side, that's correct.
Okay. And is there some kind of concrete base? Because the Core 10 should not be touching ground.
So what we'll be doing there is what we did on the other medical office buildings. We'll actually do a river rock base around so that it'll actually catch, because it will, as you probably what you're alluding to, I think it'll stain eventually as it patinas.
Can you
So
go
we'll
with
have-
brick versus river rock?
Say that again.
Brick versus river rock? We don't have rock around here.
We could do that. This will be on the ground. It's not on the building.
I understand
Okay.
it'd be underground, but river rock looks like,
We can look at that, sure.
you have like a brick base coming up, right? The
No,
kitchen
on that
door, too.
facade, the Core 10 is the facade, so it comes down to a base to the bottom of the wall.
But at the bottom of the wall would be brick versus river rock.
No, it's, if you go to that elevation, it's not that one, it's the other elevation. Okay. So the Core 10 comes all the way to the bottom of the wall.
Okay.
So the grade is river rock.
That's what, yes, that's right. I mean, 4 feet lower, you really won't see it. And the thought is that eventually that Core 10, once it patina's fully out, it doesn't stain and you can replace those rocks fairly easily. And then you have a
Okay.
fresh look.
So the rock is a flat surface.
That's correct. I mean, we're talking like 1 foot off the building, just
Yeah.
enough to catch that runoff.
And where's the, any rooftop units? Where's the AC?
Oh,
Or
that's
these
on the
buildings?
other side, there's the flat roof with the parapeted side, that'll be screened. So from the Berlin G. Myers side, you see the pitched roof portion, the flat roof side on the south elevation is facing the parking lot.
So you'll have downspouts on BGM side.
No, the downspouts are between the brick.
Well, you gotta have down, you got a slope roof sloping towards BGN.
Correct,
It's throwing water towards BGN.
correct.
So you need gutters and downspouts.
We can add those if you like.
Can you explain where the rooftop units are on the south elevation?
So where you see those 3 entries, those brick rectangles, those are all pilaster or parapets. So behind that is the lower roof where where the.
Even though it says roof at,
Yeah,
That's-
that's our program. That's actually the bearing.
okay,
of
so that's a
building.
misnomer.
That's
The
definitely
roof is
correct.
actually 3 feet below the top of the parapet.
Yes, it's much lower than that.
Obviously, we don't want to see the rooftop units.
We don't either.
Okay.
So, yeah. And thankfully, on a project of this scale, they're not going to be large units. I mean, this is pretty small.
Mhm.
So be on the left-hand side of East Elevation, hidden by that parapet that surrounds it.
That's correct, yes.
That's pretty simple,
Any other comments?
straightforward.
Question about the site, but nothing else.
How about the site?
Okay.
Are we done with our technical part?
Yep.
Okay. I guess the only question, and I apologize, I was not here last time, is why there are two landscape violins? Unless I'm not reading this right. Maybe it's up. The issue, I apologize, I think it's. Yeah, I'm reading it wrong, never mind.
Never mind. Site's pretty straightforward, eh?
Yeah, going back to, so the only other question is there any thought to put the dumpster enclosure further away from Berlin G?
That's definitely something we can look into.
I mean, if you do, you lose parking spaces, so it's catch 22.
Well, it's hard for the truck to get around.
Yeah, it's such a tight
Truck
space.
navigates that location pretty, it's
Correct.
gonna be 4 feet below Berlin G.
Which means you're gonna see into it.
No, you won't. The wall will be 8 feet high.
Depending on what kind of size dumpster.
What is the detail in that area?
Well, the
Well-
dumpster can't be too big. You can see that.
Will we be able to, if someone's walking along the sidewalk, will they be able to see the dumpster?
No, not if you're walking on the sidewalk. Absolutely not.
Or driving.
Just a reminder, y'all, this street will be a public right of way. That's correct. It's not private. So this street below here. So it will be essentially a street frontage. I just wanted to make sure y'all understood that that wasn't like backing up to a tree line or anything like that. That's another street.
Right.
Sure, yeah, so I mean, you'd have to make a choice, do you want to adjacent to Berlin G Meyer, or do you want to adjacent to an internal street? The only reason why I'm fearful of it is driving down in a larger vehicle down Berlin G Myers, because I pass this 5 times a day. The ability to look down, depending on how many cubic yards that dumpster is, it's an 8-foot wall.
Yeah.
So
We can do some studies of that.
just a thought, I don't. It's sufficient answer the question, so.
So I guess the go is we don't want to see the dumpster.
Correct, right.
So whatever you have to
So
do,
We need to study that, make sure that it achieves what you're talking about.
even if you have to put a roof on it, we don't want to see.
That would be difficult.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Any other comments on this? So are we comfortable in giving final?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay, does someone want to make a motion?
make motion, final approval,
We know the colors, right?
based on comments made.
Colors they show.
If you want to hold that real.
Put your gutter downspouts on the front, dumpster to enclose.
We're using the red brick.
Dumpster enclosure.
The rest.
That's good. But
Yeah.
it's a smaller building.
It is.
Yeah.
So, Bill, just to reiterate, you're making the motion to have downspouts on the front, ensure that the dumpster is sufficiently screened for Berlin G Myers.
Yes.
Vehicle, so anything else, I apologize.
I think that covers it.
I second it.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, thank you.
Thank you. You guys have a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
That was.
Go with Thanksgiving.
We leave Chris back there.
Right.
Huh?
You rang.
Uh-huh. Oh, no, holiday drive. This is a tough one.
All right, so this is the preliminary submittal for the rooms to go off of Holiday Drive. They came before you for DRB conceptual back in August. Excuse me. At the previous DRB meeting, the board discussed Somerville vernacular and the importance of incorporating local and low country elements into the rooms to go typical design. The board asked that at the next presentation, they reference these elements in detail. The applicant has provided references and a narrative with this submittal. The project did go before the Tree Protection Board for review and received feedback to explore additional tree preservation in areas where groupings of trees were planned to be saved already. The applicant has reduced the size of the building, enlarged their preservation buffer, modified stormwater elements and shifted the entry driveway in an effort to maintain more trees. The Tree Protection Board did request that the project come back before them with their DRB preliminary approved plans and landscaping for final Tree Protection Board approval. It does appear that some of the parking slash drive aisle areas fronting the property are missing the required large maturing trees required by 8.5.2B of the UDO. And there are a few parking spaces that are not covered by the 60-foot radius of the trees within the parking areas. These items can be easily updated before final approval is granted. DRB can grant exceptions to both of these requirements, but they should be met where feasible. That is all I have, so I will hand it over to the applicant.
Hello, thank you for seeing us. My name is Peter Weitzner. I'm from Rooms to Go. This is my colleague, Will Martin. We're here with our civil engineers from LJA, Charlie Hager and Reed Walters, and our architect, who is Chris Karpus. We are very excited to build a store at this spot. We've spent a lot of time making changes to try to accommodate your requests over the last couple months. So I'm going to turn it over to our engineers to start the presentation.
Hey, my name's Charlie Hager. I'm with LJ Engineering, and we're the civil engineer for this project. I just wanted to start by saying thank you guys so much for your feedback. I'm sorry I couldn't be at the last meeting, but it's nice to see a group come together and actually try to make effective changes. And we spent a lot of time back in our lab coming up with hopefully a solution that you guys will be excited about as well. So there was a few things that were brought up. One was we started out with more parking than was needed. So we went back and we rethought the parking to condense it as much as possible. And by doing that, in conjunction with moving the driveway, as you see there, before it was more central of the site, we've decided to shift it up. By doing that, we were able to consolidate the stormwater pond. And when you have two interconnected ponds and you put it in one, you actually need less pond footprint area, which was good for us because it got almost 5,000 square feet of disturbance could be eliminated from the overall plan, which the tree board was really happy about because that was able to get us to closer to their request. And I think we're saving almost 240 more tree inches. And over 185 of those inches are considered grand trees. So in meeting with them, not only did we try to save more trees, we worked with them to save more trees in the areas that they wanted us to save trees, which is kind of at the northern side of the site, where there was a pond and parking previously. Now that is just a complete undisturbed area. And those were really specifically the trees that they wanted us to focus on saving. So we even put in a small site retaining wall so that we wouldn't have to grade down. Obviously, the site has some existing challenges. It has a normally high seasonal high groundwater table. So in order to get the drainage to work, which is like the health, safety, welfare side of any development, we have to fill the site. And so that's why you see that retaining wall. But by incorporating that, we are able to save 2 additional A grade trees. There was only 5 on the site. So that helps preserve even more of the A grades. And just note that there is about 67% of all trees on site were graded C, D, or F. So we are happy to be able to saving a majority of the A graded trees, and the tree board was happy about that. So that kind of addresses the changes we did for the parking and the trees. There was a comment about the spacing of the building to the interstate right away. The new plan has 5 additional feet from the main face of the building. So that gets us even further back. And we also, by redesigning the site, how we did it, it allowed for some building changes so that the building had less, like the articulation and the jut outs, they were able to be condensed. So you have a more uniform face that's further from the highway. And also by doing these changes, we were able to get a sidewalk that would go around the back. which not only, fire is going to be happy about that. So in the case of a fire, they're going to be able to easily get around the building, but it also just leads to a more walkable and easy to maintain end result. So I think that's kind of the major gist of it. We also did some stuff with our utilities and storm to try to save more trees where we could, moving a storm outfall to a gap in the forest. So we wouldn't have to cut anything down just to get the pond to drain. We rethought the access to the proposed public sidewalk. And we think that will lead to a better, more walkable, pedestrian friendly site. And then regarding the comments about the tree selection and the coverage, we will continue to work on that to make sure it's 100% compliant. As far as the landscaping goes, we met with the tree board 2 weeks ago, and we worked with them and heard them loud and clear, not only the species of the trees that they wanted to see, but which of those species that they suggested we plant where they wanted to see them. So we tried to accommodate that on our landscape plan that you're seeing. So we hope that we can answer any questions. We hope that you consider this an improvement. And if you have anything else like tree related, we'd be happy to take it back to the board. But this plan, of all the comments they made 2 weeks ago, we nailed it right on the head with everything they asked for. So yeah, if you have any site related questions or anything about what I said, we're here to answer that. It's on Holiday Drive.
I know Holiday Drive, but what are the neighbors?
Well, there's that
Who's next door?
There's a Nissan dealership, and then
Yeah,
you go a little further down and there's a apartment complex.
Palm Casual.
Yeah. And then, yeah.
So Palm Casual is this building.
Just north of Palm.
Okay,
So what?
so.
I guess one thing I should mention, as far as like buffering goes, we are keeping like a nice natural strip. One is inherently good.
Looks like you're north of Palm
This,
Casual.
I don't think that's correct. You're right next to Palm Casual, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
You're north of Palm Casual and west,
I don't think this address,
basically west.
this is not.
Huh?
I thought Palm Casual was like,
That's correct.
but I thought Palm Casual was right next door. Like you're a joiner. You're not? Okay. Okay. All right. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
not next to Palm Casual.
Regarding the neighbors, like we have this SCDOT drainage easement along the storage unit side. So like we're obviously not disturbing into there. And then working with tree board, we were able to leave a nicer buffer to the residents next door. So
So that's Mercedes across the interstate from me. Looks like with the parking lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, I'm oriented. That's good.
All right. Any comments on site? Tammy, you have anything down there yet?
No.
Okay. Bill,
No, just meet staff comment.
Right.
Peter,
Has the, is this one fire lane agreeable with the fire department for this size building?
With the TRC, so this is, what met their requirements.
frankly,
What-
that's why you see that northern drive, that's to get hose lay. And that was, we worked with them actually first before we even did anything, was met with fire, and this was the solution that we came up with.
What is the paving material in the fire lane?
Well, the majority of the site would be heavy duty asphalt because of just the nature of it, but that one up there would be, it's not meant to be impervious. It's like a grass paved system.
It's meant to be what?
It's like a system right now. I mean, it could be asphalt, but since it's only gonna be the fire lane, we want to kind of clearly demarcate that. So it's like the little pavers that have the grass that can grow through it.
And it's actually a system that's like specifically meant for the
Fire
loading
lanes and
of
fire
an
truck?
aerial apparatus, like the big rigs that are extremely heavy with the point loading when they have to put their outriggers. So it's like a very engineered system that we use, and
Okay.
frankly, it's probably the only one that would work with grass. You see a lot of people trying to do it that would not meet, like when they put their outrigs down. So that we will.
What is
continue.
the similar paved area on the south side? What is that little, yeah, what is that?
So that's so they can pull the truck all the way up to the edge of the building. They wanted fully covered 3 sides of the building. So we had to extend that so that they could pull their truck all the way up there if they needed.
Okay, so they have more than just the one north fire
Yeah.
lane.
Yep. They covered the bases.
Okay.
I mean, I think from a public safety and just overall standpoint, this has been very well designed for fire, for access, for ADA and stormwater as well. So, I mean, we've continued to do that. I know a lot of people come up here with plans that are conceptual or 50%. We've taken it all the way with drains. We have a full report.
Kudos.
Every time we change it, we test it and make sure what you're seeing is actually legitimate. So
Kudos to LJA.
Yeah.
For doing that.
now you can walk around the building too, so they don't get stuck on a bush with their hose or something.
Is this gonna be a wet pond or a dry pond?
It will be wet. It inherently has to be with the water table. But we will make, ponds aren't great to look at all the time, but we do have a very thoughtful landscape plan around it, so it'll.
So I'm not a drainage expert, but all the rainwater on this roof is going to go into the pond?
That's right. It's pitched specifically to avoid having to extend a bunch of roof drains around the back.
Pitch to the front then.
What'd you say?
You got to pitch to the front.
Yes,
Sure.
away from the highway. And that's actually one thing we like about Rooms to Go is that they have the ability to change how their roof pitches to help with drainage. So
And rooftop equipment, that's all shielded somehow?
yeah, there will be. If you want to get
So
into-
even,
Let's wait on
I'll
that.
let Chris go
Okay.
over all that, but
do you know how high 26 is from the elevation of this building?
Or
Or
that's a good
low?
question. So this interstate drops down, it's elevated about 4 feet and we're going up about 3.5, 4 feet. So our finished floor will probably be within 6 feet or 6 inches to a foot of the driving surface of the road.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're not like building it up crazy. It's just the site starts to fall off from the road, so.
All right. Couple of my comments are on actually don't see it. There it is. Can you tell me why the sidewalk that connects back to the road, why it's on this, I'll call it the south side of the site, and it's crossing a parking drive aisle, then a bay or island, then a drive aisle, then an island, then a drive aisle, versus just putting it on the north side, where you don't have to cross the drive aisle once and then you're a straight shot.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been our goal.
Mhm.
But the tree board was adamant we save every inch of square foot or whatever we could over there. And so by pulling it further away, we were able to continue to have the correct fire lanes and radii and everything, and then save an extra 5 feet of space.
But you could still put it right on the back of curb on the north side, couldn't you?
You could, but it'd be 5 more feet encroachment into the tree save. They really just asked we save even a foot if we could over there. So that's what warranted it on that side. And I don't know, we got to pick one side or the other, and
Mhm.
it kind of makes sense to have it, in our opinion, over there just is like with all the traffic coming in, everything, like it's less likely you'd have to cross a car coming and have a big dispute in the parking lot too. So I don't know. We did oversize the islands a little bit there too to accommodate the path.
Oh, never, it'll never.
If you're gonna
be
speak, you
used.
gotta come up.
Nobody will ever use it anyway,
Well, workers might, but yeah.
not likely.
I was just gonna add to that, we
Doors.
moved the sidewalk also so that it's not right up against that wall like, I know so we could avoid having a railing or anything there, just to keep it out away from any steep slopes or anything, just so it's. a little
Where's your
safer.
wall? I don't see.
It's up in the north area, kind of where the drive bends over into the fire lane.
Yeah.
It's hard to see, but
If you look at
I
the
can't see it.
site plan, the grading plan, it's a little clearer.
yeah,
What's the
right,
The
difference?
landscape plan, it kind of blends in. with the-
you kind of,
I'm not.
Where it says LOD?
it's
That's
it's
limited.
not all, yeah, it's not like a huge retaining wall either.
Only like 20 feet long.
I think like it'll range from 0 to 3 feet max. There you go. And then it's obviously along that fire lane too, because we're not gonna get into that buffer. We can avoid it.
Can you, Becca, can you trace the retaining wall? Is that it? It starts right there
Let's see.
and goes back to the interstate.
Yeah,
So there's already a gap between the wall and the back of curb. Right there.
yeah.
Just consider it. Seems like it'd be a better solution to put the wall on the north side. I mean, it's not a deal killer to me, but just going,
Easier.
yeah, going up putting all these ramps in at the parking lot islands is just asking for trouble. It seems like you could cross it on the north side, go all the way down to the main road, and it'd be much simpler, but I'm just would. Right, so-
I'll give you this. We will try that, and we'll ask the board if they'd be willing to accept that. But
we kind of work together and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a little with board, it's a little,
Yeah, you won't be near any trees.
okay, that was their main concerns.
Yeah,
Sir,
Chris,
so
I was at the meeting. I try to go to both meeting. Well, obviously I have to be here for this one. But they were very particular about that area, and pushing everything as far out as they could.
let's take a look at it. You're already grading, I don't know, 10 feet into that. It seems like you could put the wall in, but just take a look at it. Yeah,
well, yeah.
take a look,
yeah.
look. That's all you gotta do.
Well, we'll definitely give it the old college try. I actually do, for what it's worth, think that's a great idea, but we're just trying to appease a lot of folks.
I understand.
So-
Yep. And then I noticed that the part of the walk that parallels Holiday Drive goes onto your property rather than being in the right of way. Can you just explain?
Yeah, that was done very intentionally for drainage.
Okay.
There's a good deal of flow that comes through there. We want to have room to collect it and convey it. We're going to grant an easement, public access easement over it. Unfortunately, it's just going to be really hard to collect everything how it's draining today. And we're actually going to be improving the roadside drainage. It just doesn't leave a lot of room for a sidewalk on the right of way.
Okay, so it's really, you're recreating the roadside ditch in a way, right?
We're
You're not-
engineering it to be a little more effective.
Yeah.
To keep everything high and dry and to meet current standards.
You're not using it for your drainage. for
No,
Your
no,
drainage.
sir.
plan.
We're purely doing it to convey it safely under our drive and on its merry way to that 40-foot drainage easement.
Okay. Becca, can we go back to the landscape plan, please? I hear you, but I would like to see more landscaping between the parking lot and the building. Right now, it looks like it's around 3 feet for just one row of shrubs. Typically, that needs to be 5 or 10. And I noticed that the drive aisles are 26 feet. I think the requirement in the town is 24 feet for drive aisles. It seems like you could just narrow those drive aisles, add a little bit more landscape.
Fire truck.
It's yes, that's correct. The current IFC for the building of this height, it's 26. And
What for the building?
when the buildings are over 30 feet, the current IFC says you should have 26-foot wide fire lanes.
Okay,
We also have trucks that come in and they need to be able to turn. So we've done an auto turn analysis.
Okay.
It's kind of like playing a video game on your CAD program, but
Yeah.
they need a little bit of extra room to meander around. So yeah, I mean, we can certainly look into that. I believe the center aisle that's just for regular passenger vehicles, that is 24. It's just the outer loop where the fire trucks and big trucks will go is a little wider.
okay.
But
Just-
so you're saying that, just to be clear, the landscaping is between the pond and the drive aisle, or you're saying?
The landscaping
Building
between the
sidewalk.
building, like the head end parking spaces at the building,
Yes.
between that sidewalk and the building, it's only about 3 feet or so.
Yeah,
Just looking at it,
I can
typically
explain that.
it's gonna look, it's just gonna look kind of disproportional.
Yeah,
It would be better if it were 5 or 10 feet. So it'll look right.
well,
Right now, it looks like it's,
yeah,
it's jammed up against the building.
it definitely looks that way because we did that on purpose to get more space from the highway. So we can maybe rerun some drainage and see if we can condense that pond by 2 or 3 feet.
If you gained a couple of feet, it would help. Right now, it's that wide, you know, next to a building that's, you know, 20 feet tall or whatever it is. Scale wise, it's just not gonna look right.
Sort of, it's like by
Mhm.
some deeper part of wall.
Is there a retaining wall? Is there a retaining wall on this pond, on your detention pond?
No. No,
Where's the?
Uh,
Oh, yeah, there is. That's right. But
no,
I mean, there is a certain,
no retaining walls
There-
on this.
Well, wait, he said yes.
yeah.
Can we get
This is Reed.
what
Come
the
on, you
design
can
is?
Explain your pond.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, you do have
which-
you do have one, don't you?
yeah,
He's gonna
there's
explain it,
the
though.
pond has a wall. It goes down and there's like a 5 foot almost flat part, just so it's a little safer, you know, it's a little nicer looking, that kind of thing. And then it goes down to the rest of the wet portion of the pond.
So
What was the question again?
how much of the wall is visible?
I mean, it'll be about 3 or so feet, but I mean, you're going down over down, right?
No,
Um,
above, he's saying like above grade.
Above water?
Oh, no, there's no wall.
It's sunken.
Oh,
Yeah,
Above water surface elevation, how much is exposed?
3.5 feet,
Okay.
which if I could add, by the way, real quick, there is between that front sidewalk and the building is 5 feet currently.
Okay.
So I don't know I know,
Typically, we'd like to see enough to put a small tree in front, like a crepe myrtle.
Yeah. Yep.
And it breaks up the building elevation, whereas right now, it just looks like a little trim at the bottom of the building.
no, just,
all right, well, we can find a way to get some more space there. That's a good idea and certainly achievable.
And while we're talking, Becca, could you go back to the landscape plan, please? And the pond needs to be sodded. I saw a note that said sod or hydro seed. The pond banks need to be sodded.
Yeah.
Or use aquatic planting
mhm.
throughout that.
Yeah.
Aquatic planting would be better.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
It will be, does rain quite a bit and it's
Yeah.
not to get wet, so.
We get a lot of afternoon rainstorms here that fill ponds up very quickly.
Still be a wet pond, right?
It's gonna be
Yeah.
wet, yeah. I know, we can look into that. I know sometimes those can be, landscapers have issues with those. I know we do, like the city of Charleston requires those on all their ponds now, and I've heard a lot of stories. of They get it all planted and established and it's like, oh, there's all this junk in the pond. I need to clear this out, but we'll definitely at a minimum, it'll all be sod.
I
for
think it
sure.
might even be a coastal county requirement, actually. I'm not sure. Becca could tell you that after, but you know, to have aquatic planting in the pond, on the pond banks instead of a mowable slope. But and
Well, I mean, it is nice we have a shelf too, so we do
Yeah.
have the ability to put something in there.
that works. And then, sorry, I got 2 or 3 more things.
No, you're good.
I'd like to see canopy trees in all of the parking lot islands. A couple of them, you see it on this plan, the smaller ones, I think are crepe myrtles.
Mhm,
Would prefer canopy trees.
mhm.
Because again, South Carolina, you want shade. It's not enough to block the buildings or anything like that. It's just canopy trees because to provide shade for parking and all that.
Yeah, I know, or if you,
I had you may have heard earlier on the other previous application. I don't think you had any azaleas on here. This is Flower Town on the Pines, Azalea Festival attracts 250,000 people here every year. They look for azaleas. Somerville's known for azaleas. I'd like to see more Somerville appropriate planting. And then the front buffer is really not there. It's just a hedge along both sides of the pond. It doesn't look like it was designed. It looks like it was just met for code minimum. I'd rather see more trees along that front. I'm talking really between the driveway and whatever that utility is. I don't recall. But just if you could consider that, bald cypress do great in that situation with that pond. Maybe it's as simple as putting bald cypress in there somehow or on the edges or something. If you could consider that.
You're saying like the buffer between like the property line and the pond, or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Well, part of that is.
Well, between the parking lot and the pond, really,
Parking.
parking lot and Holiday Drive.
There's really not a lot we can do in that first section just because of the utility easements.
You're supposed, yeah, but you're supposed to locate the buffers outside of the utility
Yeah,
easement.
yeah.
So really, it's supposed to be pushed.
Yeah. I'm just saying that's why there's no major plantings like in the immediate step into the site. That's
Yep.
just, they're just, someone will come fix the sewer line and rip them right out. But yeah, that's a good idea on that gap between the pond and the.
And in the past, CPW has been very receptive to plantings in their easement. You just have to ask them.
Well, and there's.
Granted, if you're planting a live oak over the easement, they might have an issue with that, but planting more than just grass is, they usually approve that. So if you would just take a look at that. Candy, did you have any site comments? Justin?
I mean, I'll go every. Yeah, I'd like to see the sidewalk on the north side if you can. Obviously, there's a retaining wall that looks 5 feet back to curb by my terrible estimate. Plantings, obviously you have that pump station to the south, I assume that is? Yep. So I don't know how my CPW doesn't allow anything and they fight with me all the time on it. So how Somerville's is. I'm with Chris. It just seems crazy to have 3 drive out crossings. One idea that I was thinking of is if you made that center line, I get the trucks, I get the fire truck access, trust me. But make that center one way. You can get squeeze out. Chris needs 8 feet. You have 5. There's got to be a way to squeeze 3 more feet because I completely agree with them. The massing of this is so huge from Holiday Drive, and you've got a couple boxwoods that doesn't do anything for it. Again, I also say I agree with Chris that more landscaping is needed on the islands. The only new comment I'll add is, on the engineering side, which I'm not an engineer, I just pretend. You have the outfall for this pond going in a swell between this and the storage unit, but the storage unit also outfalls into that same swell. Yep. It looks to me like it drains to the highway.
Opposite.
It goes under the road. It goes under Holiday.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep.
So then that gets to be a very expensive question are those pipes sized appropriately to take on this new impervious? Because this is a lot of impervious.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously what our pond will control the
Mhm.
flow to meet that. We've already done a pretty extensive study
Okay.
on this.
Yeah.
We have the ditch modeled, we have the pipes across the street modeled, we've looked at tailwater and all that.
Okay.
To make sure we're good on this.
Gotcha. All right. The only other thing I'll add is there's a 4-foot sidewalk on the the back face of the building facing 26. I think somebody mentioned something it's to the benefit of firefighters. It doesn't connect to anything.
Yeah, that's right. It was mainly to have a clear, walkable, traversable path for landscaping maintenance and if in the fire that you have a clear path around. Before we had the building, a few plantings, and then it went down slope to grade. And so there wasn't a lot of maneuverability around the building.
Oh, was this a request by FD?
This was
a 4-foot sidewalk?
well, that's just the foundation, like that's just a buffer that we put in, and we just elected to make it concrete for doubling for all those purposes. It's not like
it's 2 birds, 1 stone situation.
It's not necessarily like, hey, come on back here and have a picnic. It's more just to have that for the staff and people that come out to maintain the site, and every now and then maybe a firefighter, but it's not like
about
there's no
emergency?
sidewalk to it. It's you'd have.
That's my point is you have a 4-foot sidewalk that literally doesn't connect to anything except for a grass paver.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it seems a little extra to do that or connect
I
it.
mean, we could do it.
Seems kind of half.
Like,
I'll address it. Chris Carpus Design. Part of it is, it was kind of pushed up to the back a little bit more towards the interstate before. And by allowing that, one of the comments at the last meeting was, you know, how they're going to get it back there to maintain the building.
Mhm.
So this is part of how they're doing that. And also, emergency egress from the back. Rather than just have a little concrete stoop, it does direct people to the sides, not to the interstate, but to the sides. And it is covered and, I should say protected and buffered with, basically what would be foundation planting back there and some, crepe myrtles and some trees.
So forgive my ignorance then, if it's used for emergency egress, why would it not be 5 feet instead of 4?
well, I'll say also, one thing we thought of was like window washers, because we have a lot more glass now. Like,
Sure.
we don't want them stomping through the bushes, but, I mean, technically if you were making like an ADA compliant sidewalk, you can do 4 feet in every, like 200 feet, I believe, you have to have a 5x5 turnaround area. But 4 feet's an acceptable sidewalk, for sure. It's just the standard's more 5, but
Yeah.
we just didn't see the need to keep it going when most folks can do a 4-foot sidewalk and be fine. We can all do 3 foot. That's when it starts getting really narrow, but even though 5's the standard, 4 is totally fine from all code perspective.
Yeah.
When it's not an accessible route.
I'm aware of that, but that's kind of my point.
It's
Is
not
it
meant to be.
seems to achieve one issue by causing it. I don't know. Again, I don't care. I'm just curious.
We could do it unpaved too. I mean, we just wanted a nice flat.
Like I said, I'm just
We,
curious.
yeah, we don't mind saving money, saving Rooms to Go money. But it was in response to their first meeting.
Yeah.
And so that,
I got you.
it's just a very
Because
physical.
I'm sitting there, I'm thinking like, okay, so it's for firefighters. Well, firefighters with all the gear, they need 4 feet. Well, then it's for ingress egress. Well, yeah,
Oh,
to your
no.
point, you can go down to 48 inches per code IBC, or IFC, but at the end of the day, hence why we have the wheel stops in front of sidewalks now, but it doesn't connect to anything with grass. So it's kind of,
You're right in that. But there is a difference between firefighter access and emergency egress.
agreed.
And that's really what we're addressing here.
Gotcha. No worries.
Okay.
That's all I got.
It is interesting.
It was just confusing me a little bit. No worries. That happens all the time.
We thought maybe someone would be like, hey, they heard us about the maintenance and stuff. So I don't know.
Maintenance guys are gonna love it.
So are there exit doors along that elevation? They're not, I
There-
can't see any.
There aren't at this point. Now, as the plan gets developed a little bit more, if there just aren't going to be, then, like I said, we can save them some money and take it out. But it was a multifaceted, there's a multifaceted answer to a direct response to maintenance of the building. But it is also for those purposes.
Well, based on travel distance requirements, you're probably gonna need some exit doors in the back. Cause it's a
We're-
long way from the
We
middle of that
we
building.
could get folks to the
to the
back
end.
corners, probably. But you're right, that would have to be developed with the
You
interior
can
as
figure
the,
that out. I mean,
yeah.
it's black and white.
but either way, if it's, we don't want to do things that are completely unnecessary, add unnecessary cost to the building. And if it's a response to a comment from the board originally regarding maintenance to the outside and that is not necessary or required by the board, then
Well, generally,
relook at it.
generally, Chris, when you hit a building that's 6 feet deep, you gotta have rear exits
Right.
for any kind of retail structure. So I would suppose you would have to have rear exits for this.
We'll
Just
we'll
have to
find out a little bit.
You'll figure it out. Well, your building plans, you'll figure it all out.
Yeah.
It'll be code.
I mean, I've worked on a couple of Rooms to Go now. It's been interesting to learn about this, but most of the stores we work on have the 2 side doors in the front. It's rare to see one out the back, and that's in many jurisdictions. So I would be surprised if this one.
Well, out of the 55 Walmart shopping centers I've built, we've had exit doors out the back of it all,
Yeah.
out everything.
Yeah.
Walmart's, small shops.
They'll figure that out. They'll figure it out. Any other site comments? Can we move on to architecture?
All right. Thank you guys so
All
much.
right, if we could, so this is their revised elevations, and if you remember, originally Rooms to Go came with something that was a little bit more prototypical, with the barrel vault over the entrance. And so one of the things we've really tried to do is connect this building more with the town. And you could see the brick there below, but we'll talk about the overall massing and everything here first. They've reduced the amount of glass added. We've added some metal below the windows, so the windows don't go all the way to the ground, and that's kind of reflective of like an old town storefront. You know, those don't go all the way to the ground typically, and we've tried to add some articulation in the glazing as well. Mainly the approach here was we needed to, this is a big horizontal building and we wanted to add more vertical elements to kind of catch and get people's eye up and not just look at it as horizontal. So we're doing that by using glazing, the details in the glazing. We are bumping up parapet walls and trying to accentuate certain areas. If the south elevation is the one in the middle there, that's the parking lot side. And to Chris's point, to the left and right of the main entrance there is depressed, is recessed a lot more. And we do have a couple crepe myrtles in there. We'll see that in the renderings, but and some seasonal stuff. We tried to kind of bring forward a lot of the brick detailing and articulating a lot of the details to kind of connect that back with the town as well. And we've got some canopies that you'll see a little bit. Well, you can kind of see them at the bottom there in the side renderings or the side drawings. You can see that we are looking at a General Shale Riverwalk brick. It's manufactured here in the Southeast. It's a lot warmer. It's got some browns, some grays, and also the bronze, the dark bronze metal, and all the metal will match. The brick will match. We have we added the water table. That was one of Bill's comments. Added a water table, kind of bumps out from the field a little bit, and we capped that with a row lock. And then you go up, even with that large metal, that the horizontal stripe that kind of goes through the windows, we've connected that to the brick with 2 layers or 2 rows of soldier course brick. And then up at the top, we've got soldier course, few soldier courses and the metal coping, which we made a little bit heavier. But if you could scroll down, Becca, yeah, that's just kind of another shot there. Let's scroll down to a little bit more of the 3-dimensional stuff to kind of see. There's the front, and it's the SketchUp model, and you can kind of see a little bit more of the brick detailing. So even as we tried to make the building more vertical in certain areas to kind of break up the massing, we still have some subtle connections to some of those lines that carry around the building. They won't be super heavy. I think that everyone's eye will be drawn up to the middle with the canopy, and the canopy's in the middle there, which is all parapets. And we've done a little study to kind of look at the mechanical units in the roof and where they're typically located in Rooms to Go stores. And we believe that the parapets will hide all of the units. We also have those large areas at the front and the back that are really tall that will help with that. If you keep going, let's see. You can kind of see some of that brick detailing a little bit better. This is SketchUp, so it's a little bit more of a challenge. Go ahead and scroll down, Becca. We'll just go down to the other 3D stuff. It's all right. Well, while we're on this, this is basically the side that faces the interstate. It doesn't, I have the landscaping shown a little bit more clearly on the other 3D, but you can kind of see where they're going with that. It's basically two fronts and rooms to go with the rooms to go signage on both, and the kids and patio. Actually, that's both the back, but go ahead and go down to that one right there. Yeah. They're tiny. Okay. Either one. The one, the top one up there is the side facing the interstate. Kind of show that we've broken up the that facade with some trees on the ends. We've got trees that are at the ends of the fire lanes. We have the patio, and the kids kind of bump out. It's a supported wall that kind of bumps out like a porch. And so we have a couple porches and canopies. They're bracketed canopies, and then use the crepe myrtles and the ground planting. That model does have the sidewalk that goes along the building, but the point I was trying to make earlier is that if you're concerned about seeing the sidewalk, it's really not visible. If you go to the next one, that's from the front area. You can see, Chris, where those.
I just have a question. Can we
Yeah,
go back one slide, Becca? So where the sign patio is mounted, is that just a freestanding screen wall, or is the building projected?
It's a freestanding screen wall that, if you look, Peter, where the canopy is, there's structure that goes back that braces that wall.
Okay.
And it's kind of just a reference to. I mean, it's not a low country porch, but it's a porch nonetheless. And those letters are freestanding. Each is their own. They're mounted to the steel below. They're typical with those signs.
Will you have night lighting kind of emphasizing
We can
the
do that.
freestanding nature of that?
Yeah, just kind of create a nice shadow behind it. Yeah, that makes sense. We can show that at the next one, or I mean, we have some. You can kind of see their lights that we have on the front there, but there are things certainly we can do to accentuate that and break it up from.
And can I assume the glazing is clear, or this is showing reflective?
It's clear. It's reflective in the
That's okay.
rendering, but
It's clear.
I mean, it's as reflective, I think, as it probably will be out there in the sunshine. So there is the front entrance. You can kind of see a little bit more of the detailing of the windows on the right, and that canopy over the front. Really two little canopies. One is actually part of the channel support for the rooms to go sign, and then the high canopy above. You can see some of the brick detailing in there. We've got corbelled soldier courses and the corbel in the middle there. Just trying to, I think that the original design did have a couple of different materials, but we decided that with this building that we would rather rely on the detailing and corbels to get some shade and depth than to bring in any other colors or materials. If you go down to that next one, that's from the parking area there. You can kind of see how the landscape will play at the front. There are, I believe, some perennials there at the front under those crepe myrtles. And then we've got trees on the corners, and then trees at the corners in the back. And of course, both sides of the site have a good bit of trees between them and the neighbors.
Is the horizontal break in the glazing, is that an I-beam or a box beam?
It's metal.
I know, but it looked like it had a shadow coming down. So is it industrial looking, or is it just storefront looking?
I think we'd probably take a look at that as a detail and keep it more clean than industrial. So it would just be smooth. We don't necessarily want to create more areas at the windows that have a lot of leak potential. So if we just keep it kind of smooth um,
And
but I
what's
see what you're
the-
saying. Yeah.
What's the inspiration between the X? Cross brace.
So it is a great way to break up some of the glass, but still have it transparent. Um, and
It'll be separate from the glass.
yes, it's attached to the outside.
They're not like button bars. They're just.
No, it's just attached to the outside. It's just to add more detail to a lot of glazing and really articulate that. And by having it up high, we're saying this nice to have more of a vertical approach.
And is the beam supporting the sign? Again, is that an I-beam or a box beam?
It's a box beam. It is basically a tube.
Personally, I think an I-beam, structural, something very structural.
I agree.
I'm not,
It's more of utilitarian because it's a tube, they can run the electricity or run the power for the signs. Each of those letters is.
I mean, you can do that from behind, but, okay. I think it just
you'll go and
adds
look at it.
more
I know I will too.
detail.
I'm sorry?
I think an I-beam and more industrial looking.
Okay.
To that little detail.
Sure.
Just adds more detail and interest and perhaps logic to the cross,
Okay.
the freestanding sign above. Just an
All right.
opinion.
Yeah, we'll definitely take a look at that. All right. Well, most of the rest of the renderings are very similar. That's from the side. You can see that we've got kind of some anchored trees on the ends in that planting area. I get what you're saying about the 5-foot planting at the front. I don't know that a couple more feet is going to make a big difference, but certainly happy to take a look at that. You can kind of see some of the reveals in the brick there and that. Go ahead, Rebecca, or go ahead, Becca. That's the back again. So why don't we go up a couple more and just kind of camp out there, and I'll open it up to any questions you may have. One of the front ones. The other renderings. Yeah, just kind of land on the other 3D. That's fine. Okay. So yeah, that's where we are, and I'm certainly happy to answer any questions and respond to any comments.
Justin, you have any comments architecturally?
No, sir.
Andy?
No.
Anything? Tammy? Bill?
I think it looks good.
I'll move you a sec. I think this rendering looks better than the other renderings because it makes this brick look acceptable, whereas the other renderings, it was, oof, don't want to do that.
There's a lot of variation in that brick, and it's hard to kind of capture in any rendering, but I agree.
Right. Peter, did you have anything else?
So this wall at the center entrance, it's texture different, but is that meant to be brick or is that metal?
It's brick. I don't know. What
Okay,
that
that's
is,
fine.
But I saw that and I tried to get rid of it and I couldn't, but it's just brick.
And the entire building has the same color brick.
The same color brick used in different ways. Yes.
Did you consider having 2 bricks?
I did. And so one of the complication was that I really looked at this building as I was using the metal more as a contrast to the brick than another brick. And because we used it creatively around everything that is metal, we thought that just having those insets and the soldier courses and the reveals in the brick that we'd be able to just do one. And also with the water table.
Becca, can you go back to the elevation? So here you're showing soldier courses that are aligned with the lintel,
Yes,
but on the renderings, I
but they're
don't-
there.
okay. But are they gonna be emphasized? I thought that was gonna be a different shade of brick. It being the same
Oh, I
family,
see what you're saying. No, it's
but a different shade.
shade, but it's.
Because the subtlety of a soldier course using the same brick, you're certainly not gonna get that
It's not. gonna be-
horizontal break.
It's not gonna be in the same plane. And so what I don't want to do is overemphasize the horizontal aspects of the building. That's why it's subtle and not,
Right.
we've gone out of kind of not out of our way, but we've really tried to emphasize certain vertical elements of the building and then, but using those soldier courses and pop them out 3/4 of an inch, whatever we can get, really an inch, would give us a little bit of a shadow line without overemphasizing the horizontal aspect of the building. And by changing the color, I think we'd get ourselves in trouble there. And we'd be back to basically a 2-layer cake. And we really rather not do that.
I don't blame you.
Thanks.
I just want to point out a couple things. I think the building is tracking in the correct direction. I like the notion of kind of just exploring the details a little bit more. They may be right on, but when you're going by the interstate, you're going to be doing whatever the speed limit is.
Or what Bill does.
Not.
Yeah.
Or not.
Wait,
So-
the speed limit on the interstate?
Probably 70 right there.
Oops.
So it's gonna, you're gonna see it like that. I know it does reflect Somerville and we've talked about that. And it's gonna be
Wait.
great.
Wait, this doesn't?
Yes, it does.
Okay, thanks.
Maybe. And then, but I think when you are in from the parking lot, it's a different experience. And I would like to see a little bit more design effort into the approach to the building. And that may be done with paving and as you come into the building. Maybe the islands in the front that I see right there, those are very narrow. Maybe they need to be wider. Maybe there needs to be, I don't know, a couple trees on these columns or something, and I know this is probably the wrong rendering to look at, but just generally look at the pedestrian approach to the building and if that is correct. And, if it is,
Sure.
come back and say, well, we looked at it and yeah, it looks good. We think this is going to accomplish those things. If it's not, come back with some stuff that helps it look better. Because I think when the last thing I'm going to say, when I drive here, I want to buy furniture. I want to come in and go, I'm excited to come into this building. Architecture looks great. Or getting there. I don't want to stroke his ego too much. But just want to look inviting when you walk in, there's an attention to detail. It's not just concrete, but just that excitement when you're coming in here to make some pretty significant purchases. So just, I'm not giving you a clear, do this, do that. It's just take a look at.
Yeah, it is.
That
I mean, it is you kind of hit the nail on the head. You will drive here and park in the front and go in and buy a couch and not really approach it from the street, which kind of makes that whole pedestrian access that we talked about earlier kind of just kind of say where you want it because it's not a walk to kind of building.
Is there also a reason why you didn't repeat kids and patio on this elevation? And then I assume that, staff is gonna review the sign
Sure.
square footage to the elevation of the building, make sure everything complies, but is there a reason you're not marketing kids and patio on this side?
Did you want to address that, Peter?
Probably like to have a sign there also, but we subject to the limitations on signage. I'm imagining that somebody made a determination that we can't, but it's not as necessary for us because we think that primarily people will be seeing the building on the other side. By the time they're here, they're coming in.
Right. That's fair.
It's not as necessary. The signs are very expensive, among other things, but in most cases, we're limited on signage and.
And we're certainly not trying to convince you to add more signs, so don't.
So.
yeah.
I
Right.
would love a 40 pylon on the highway.
We'll think you ought to have it, so.
We'll put
All right, I think the tracking good. Think,
Chris, weren't you putting trees in front of it anyway?
Yes, the other rendering is, so in this process, we kind of had a choice, as we got to the end here to kind of look at the landscaping and the renderings together and really, the model that we're looking at right now is more kind of just a basic model of the building, and that kind of generated what we did with the rest of the renderings. And so, as amazing as these are, they're not as realistic. And so we tried as a full package to show all the landscape as accurately as we could on the more realistic rendering.
all right, I'd like to call for a motion. They're asking for preliminary approval, I believe.
Yes.
Someone like to make a motion?
Make a motion for preliminary approval. There were a couple of comments just to look at the entryway and try to make that more inviting.
Consider entryway, sidewalk, landscaping.
Right.
um,
And I'd like to see a real sample board of the
Yes.
materials.
That's my fault that we don't
All
have
right.
one with us.
Any other conditions, Andy? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All vote in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good job. Looking forward to, thank you for, it was a good presentation. Thank you. All right, next is Lincoln Square. We're good.
All right, so this is a conceptual review for new construction of a townhome development. This is located off of Lincolnville Road between Summer Park neighborhood and Ladson Road. I won't go through all of the TRC comments, but those were there for reference for y'all from our different staff departments, the town. So the applicant will need to advise if there's any update on that. Staff was not aware of a grading plan for the grand trees being submitted at this time. It should be noted that if this project does require tree protection board review, that review will need to occur before preliminary DRB approval can be granted. The only other comment I had was that the architectural plans do reference some of the front entries as porches. However, they appear to only have a depth of a stoop rather than the true 6 feet. But other than that, I will hand it over to the applicant.
All right, if you would introduce yourself and state your role in the project.
Sean Canty, I'm Director of Entitlements with Lennar. It's with the developer.
Very good. So you're here for conceptual approval, or conceptual comments. Do y'all want to start with site or architecture?
Site.
Site. So what you got going on here?
Well, it's a 34-acre site. It's got about 12 acres of wetlands that we're preserving, about 99% of them. Existing pond that we're retaining with the design. Got 94 townhomes proposed, anywhere from 4 to 6 unit buildings. These will consist of hardy plank and brick. Got about a quarter mile of walking trails and some open space for recreation. And 2 entrances off of Lincolnville Road. We're not far away from Ladson Road, and we're adjacent to Summer Haven.
I noticed on some of the staff comments, it talked about there was a concern for not enough guest parking. Would you consider looking at parking, say, at the end of the cul-de-sacs? Maybe that could be a parking lot, the cul-de-sac is kind of pointing north. Could that be a little parking lot or something? Maybe there could be parking there. Maybe there could be parking on the left side of the pond. Maybe parallel in that location, maybe at the end of those two vertical blue buildings in that kind of open space, just generally consider adding more parking.
Yeah.
I think that would alleviate staff's comments.
Places could do that. I mean, yeah, definitely agree with that.
Okay. And one other little comment I had was the road to the north. It parallels those existing houses. Could you consider pushing that road further north towards that other property line? So it just gives a little meander to the road and maybe gives those existing residents a little bit more buffer.
There's gonna be to the, I guess, the plan northeast, the piece of property right there. We have to keep access to. So there's gonna be an ingress egress easement.
Okay.
Granting their access. We gotta kind of hold that access, but we can see if we can meander it.
All right. Fair enough.
What's the distance between the back of these row on plans on the bottom of the sheet to the neighbors? What is that distance?
40 or 50.
Say that
We
again?
have a buffer.
40 or 50. It's a
Okay.
15-foot buffer. It looks like it a little more than doubles it.
Yeah, like 40 feet, 30 to 40 feet.
And are you heavily landscaping that? You're gonna put a fence between the neighbors and?
And right now it'd be a landscape buffer and we've left grass area because we need drainage back there, catch basins and stuff to catch the drainage.
And I think the buffer is HOA property versus being on the lot.
Well, these are apartments. These are not townhomes. Does the use matter?
That dictates the.
I thought I,
That's what I'm saying, but it's on the staff report, it says townhomes. On the thing, it says multifamily, and they look to me to be constructed as multifamily.
It's apartment style townhomes,
So they're fee simple?
because they're not subdivided.
Yes, and we're not subdividing.
Okay, so they're apartments, because you don't build townhomes to. Those are two different standards.
Okay.
So we would, yeah, they're.
One's IBC, one's IRC. Okay, so they're not gonna be subdivided.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so they have to be built to IBC. Right, because they gotta be sprinklered, because there's no wall between them. You don't have to.
Sorry, I'm not 100% sure.
I got you. Okay, my fault. I get hung up on these things
I know they're gonna
because
match,
multifamily are two different building codes.
I know, like, I guess Central Avenue, there were some townhomes that we built over there. I know that would match those. I'm just not sure.
Well, the first thing that jumped out to me was the lack of garages. And if you do townhomes, 95% of the time you have a garage, right? So I started looking a little bit more and see that on your concept plan, it says multifamily, but in the staff report it says townhomes, and those are two different building codes.
Right.
One is international building code, the other one's international residential code.
And I think our,
And that's state.
building department, maybe raise that. I'd have to look at that. They didn't issue.
Way I read that, you don't need ADA compliance for townhomes because they're fee simple.
these aren't, I don't believe these are fee simple. Are these built to rent?
I do not know.
Well, you-
I didn't know. I don't think these are BFR. No.
So the buffer
Parking
for,
spaces aren't on the lot. It's a parking lot instead of each individual house has a parking space.
Okay.
So it's gotta be built for rent.
It's built to rent.
yes. The buffer that we were talking about earlier, the landscape buffer is 15 feet.
Okay, well, I mean, that'll be figured out before the next meeting. This is just conceptual.
I would like to know if there is a fence, a physical barrier between the back of the existing properties and your property.
It's not currently planned now. Got a buffer.
Would it make a difference to you if there were or weren't?
I think it should,
You think it should have a fence?
yes,
I agree.
or some barrier. And just what you're showing here, a little spattering of trees or low
there'll be a-
bushes is not sufficient.
And those are kind of just existing trees. Buffer hasn't been designed yet. But of course, we can look.
We're just giving
We
you,
can look at a fence.
this is just an opinion right now.
Yeah.
So we're just talking.
I think it's
So-
universal though. Everybody thinks you need a fence.
This is all food for thought.
Perimeter fence.
So when you come back,
Recommend a perimeter fence, and you don't have to have the answer right now, by any
Right.
means, but that's just kind of our thought.
Yeah.
Just to separate you from existing development. So that'd be in several locations, both sides and.
now what is happening in the center? Those are bigger lots?
Those are existing homes. Existing single family. You can see it on their color rendering. Go down one. Yeah. See in the pictures above. The pictures correspond to numbers on the plan.
Those are the existing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are-
Then you,
You see the ones on the left-hand side? I can't remember the name of that neighborhood, but
Summer Haven.
yeah, I think so.
on the
Cambridge
left
Park
is
Road.
subdivision, and it's just scattered development in the middle,
Right, correct, yeah.
country development.
Have you tried purchasing that center property or no?
Oh, which one? The ones in front of us?
In the center?
Oh, yeah, we definitely looked at that and it
Okay.
worked out better this way. Yeah. They didn't want to move. Some of them sold some of this property to us.
What is the use of one of those with a parking lot? Do we know?
I mean, as far as I know, they're all residential.
That one in the center, kind of under Ville, I
don't
believe is
know
a
about-
church.
Okay. Yeah, I see the paved lines.
I think that's a church, and then the rest of them I think are residential.
Yeah, I just know about the.
Do you have the code required green space on your development? And if not, just take a
I
look at
assume
it.
so.
Yeah,
But yeah, we
take a look at.
make sure.
So these questions, when you come back, be able to answer, yes, I have it.
Yeah, for
This is the acreage, this is the location, this is what it's for.
preliminary.
Right.
Yeah, this is just conceptual.
Yeah.
Any thought to staff's request to activate the pond? You got a trail around it, but
What do you mean by activate it?
make it some, a fishing dock, something other than a trail. I mean, this is a pretty substantial townhome community or apartment community, depending on how.
I mean,
you look at it.
we can definitely take a look at it.
That was one of the comments from the staff report. Sorry. I assume that's what they meant. That's what I would have asked.
Yeah, take a look at it.
And that's wetlands on the right-hand side.
Yeah, it's all wetlands.
What the saying says.
There's
Yeah, I think when it comes back and y'all develop it more, we're very interested in what the open space looks like. Where's those trails? Maybe you can put a trail through the wetland that kind of loops back around or something. There's not an amenity center, correct?
Correct.
Okay, yeah, so what is that active park space? Is it just a lawn? Is it? You're gonna have some, I don't know, swings or arbors or something there? Just all that kind of stuff would need to be detailed when it comes back.
Yeah, I really wanted to put a trail through the wetlands because we have a more open space on the other side, but you have to put a boardwalk through the whole thing,
Hmm.
which isn't cheap for the distance that we have.
Any other site comments before you move to architecture?
Any planned lands? I mean, I think we talked about it, about the perimeter, but do we have any internal landscaping between these buildings?
We will.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we'd like to see that too.
I would consider the spacing between the buildings, like on this lower row, those all seem very tight. I think you could. Maybe there's opportunities to lengthen or widen that a little bit if it makes sense.
Yeah, I think
Even-
when we get into the grading plan and everything, figure that out.
Yeah, I'd also like to figure out a little bit more about, how are they constructed, how are they set up, things like that, because if they are apartment complex, multi-story apartment complex per unit, then my thought is they have to have an office someplace. So for example, I'll give you an example. They built townhomes and they are townhomes. They are individually lotted, but halfway through construction, one company bought all 110. And they converted one of them without our knowledge into an office because they still have to have all these residents who are renters now go and pay their rent. So that changes the functionality of this as well as the number of egresses you have. So fire code for single family attached is 30, but for multifamily, it's only 100.
Right.
So it could change the entire dynamic of how this is set up. So I think clarity on that sets up all these other questions that I'm hearing. Plus to Peter's point about the buffer and the fence on the back side of it, if it's considered multifamily, to me as an adjacent resident, that's completely different than a townhome owned by somebody. Cause at least I can go knock on the neighbor's door and we know who owns it as opposed to a renter.
Well, this was annexed and rezoned, right?
Multi-family residential, so it's, there, when I say apartment style townhomes, that's the term our building actually uses. Designate between a subdivided single residential lot and basically in saying that it's apartment style townhomes, it's that it's not a true townhome.
They just look like it.
Yes.
I got you. Okay.
Let's
My
see
mistake.
what, let's see what the architecture looks like.
One last comment I just saw is would like to see the northern road, the sidewalk go all the way to Lincolnville as well. Because it's on the southern drive, it's not on the northern drive. I'd like to see that sidewalk go all the way.
Okay.
Yep. And then, we will need to see where the signs are going for the community, if it's named, where that sign goes, make sure it fits. I think that's it. All right, let's go on to architecture.
Townhouses. Tractor.
What is the material on these?
I mean, it's all hardy plank and brick.
Or in brick.
We've got some.
The shingle things.
Yeah.
Architectural.
That'd be the continuous like color throughout. I mean, you got like that. What is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or whatever it is. But is it all gonna be like the same?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be each unit, each home will have a different color to it.
Right. Right.
Each group of buildings will have the same color or a different color.
Right, that's what I meant.
You mean like same color you see here?
Yeah, what we see
No.
here, that's what we're gonna see throughout the whole thing, the same
Same
grouping.
order. Yeah.
They've got there's like 4, 5, and 6 unit buildings.
Yeah.
They'll mix up the facades. I'm not sure.
Okay.
We can clarify that for the
Yeah,
next
just
meeting.
get that clarified.
Yeah.
So what is it gonna be like a strip and then another and whatever? I
Well,
don't know.
one of the buildings looks like it's brick.
It does,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. What we see now is that we're gonna continuously see throughout.
Well, one of the buildings is brick.
I think it's
Well, I think she's saying is it goes white, beige, blue,
Right.
gray,
That might
white.
photocopy
Is
each
every
line.
5 going to be that same A, B, C, D, E?
Thank you. We just need to
Yeah.
know that moving forward.
Correct. I assume they're all the same.
Thank you. That's it. Very good.
So a rendering along the road showing adjacent buildings
Okay.
would be helpful.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So to address exactly what she's saying.
Okay.
To make sure that there is some interest throughout the
So we need to,
subdivision.
yeah, see what's around and whatever, and then let's look at, again, are we gonna follow this pattern? What is it gonna look like? Are we gonna have different colors, on different ones? So,
Well, this is a 5-unit building, and then you're gonna have small buildings,
4, 5, and 6.
4, 5, and 6 units, so we need to sell.
Yeah, we'll show all that.
I think it's kind of weird to see each house as a different material, because if this is the term apartment, townhomes or whatever, it's, I think it's kind of weird to have each unit look different, whereas if this was really multifamily, it'd kind of look a little bit more uniform.
This looks good like it is, though.
Well, I think it's odd to have,
They can if they don't.
I think it's,
Units
care.
being sold
We
separately.
don't even care.
Each home's being sold separately.
But condo,
So.
Yes.
What were you saying, Chris? Finish
I
what
think
you were
it's,
saying.
I think it's odd to have one of them as brick. It's kind of looks dated. Yeah, it does. It looks, it's kind of looks dated somehow.
I agree. I think it,
looks good.
I think the brick looks very dated. I really, really like,
You
I
don't want it
don't
brick?
know. And maybe it's in the middle of the others that look like, I love, what is it? Looks kind of like a shaker kind of a style or whatever. And I think that is fresh and clean looking, and there's something about this, the brick one stuck that
I
looks
think it's,
like 1990s.
Yeah.
We can take the brick out. That's not a problem.
I think it looks like there's,
You believe we said that?
I know, yeah.
Can't believe it.
I think it's like there's 3 architectural styles within this footprint.
Yeah.
And that makes it look
Right.
just a little chaotic.
It's on purpose or what makes it look.
So.
Or
bad. Or bad.
That's all. Pete.
Yeah, sure, of course, yeah.
I kind of get what you're saying.
Do you have any other elevation?
Not at this point,
So we're gonna need to see elevation.
unless you go through the architecture.
They've got all the black and white elevations. Yeah, they got a ton of them.
Yeah, they-
Until you're
I told them not to put all these in. there,
all the
and they did.
footprints in,
They put the whole set of
like
CDs on them.
40 pages that aren't necessary.
I would also make a suggestion that on the sides of these buildings, it looks like
We solved the brick thing just by saying that bring back your materials so we can address that and go from there, so.
Okay.
Go ahead, Peter, what?
well, you can see on this drawing right here where you have a brick foundation wall on the front elevation, but then on the sides, you got rid of it and just made it look cheaper. So if you can wrap the brick knee wall around the entire perimeter, I think that would look nicer. And then also, did you have a compelling reason why you did not do porches, which is kind of required from the UDO?
Not that I know of, but
Okay, so I would say review the UDO. They have minimum guidelines for residential structures. And you'll see a menu, a recipe of items to pick from. And one of them are porches. So you may want
Okay.
to look at that and incorporate some porches. What is the back side? Do you have an elevation of the back side? So it's just more,
yeah,
And hardy plank throughout?
yes.
Okay, so even the.
There's
rear-
no vinyl.
so are these really exit doors? Because again, if you look at the,
Back of their house to
Yeah.
get out to their back.
but
Back door. You got-
on those row of buildings that are facing the neighbors, there's nothing there. That's just your buffer. So what are these doors being used for?
I mean, you've got
You got space.
10, 15, 20 feet of space between the buffer and the back of the house.
It's their backyards.
You got a
Yeah.
backyard.
A little backyard.
Yeah,
patio.
small backyards.
Now, the end walls, they only got 10 feet between the buildings, so you can't even see the end. Except in certain circumstances.
So, yeah, so the first buildings as you enter in or something.
Few of them you can, few of them you can't.
And again, if it's multifamily, which I know you said it's not multifamily, we're gonna want to see where the electrical meters are, the transformers, the
Yeah, these will all be.
HVAC units. I assume that's all in the back, but they need to show.
Are you, oh, you're like, if they can be ganged or, okay.
Yeah, it gotta be on the back.
Yeah. Okay.
But you'll get to that when you develop a drawing.
Yeah, we haven't really gotten to details till we get past this.
We've got enough comments, I think.
I think so. Yep.
I can remember all that.
I think better.
Someone wrote it down.
Becca
right?
can help you with that. So. Unless you have anything
Maybe
else.
I'll have my architect, my engineer, and
Yeah.
everybody else. That'd be nice.
I would also make that recommendation that you have your design team present the preliminary design
they will
along
be.
with a real
Yeah.
sample board.
Yeah. I'll have all
And
that.
be prepared to talk about details of design and the site plan and a landscape plan.
And we're gonna ask them the why they did it a certain way. How does this look like it belongs to the low country? That sort of stuff, which they should be able to do, but
yeah, I'll have the engineer, landscape architect here. And our architect.
Any other comments? For conceptual, we don't make a ruling or whatever, or don't vote on it, but did you have any other questions for us?
No, I'm good.
All right. Thank you very much. Good to see you.
Thank you.
All right, next up is 955 Bacons Bridge Road.
Okay. This is a redevelopment project. I'm sure you're all familiar with the former Burger King that has sat vacant for a while at Bacons Bridge in front of the Galleria Shopping Center. It did go to TRC in last month. I included the TRC comments for your reference. The applicant can advise on the status of those. Being that this is a redevelopment project and conceptual review, I did not have any further comments at this. And I do believe we have some people on Zoom. Are y'all still there?
I've been texting with them, so I
Okay.
think they can hear. First of all, I'm Ted Beckenhauer with Wigwam Construction. I've been hired by the developer. I'm a local contractor. That's why I'm at this meeting, to kind of take your comments. But basically, we're taking an aging abandoned Burger King and kind of bringing it up to a more modern design standard. We're trying to preserve the existing brickwork where it makes sense, adding some new awnings, board and batten accents. As far as the site goes, our plan is to completely seal coat the parking lot. We're going to have to do some trenching and add some utilities. And after we do the seal coating, we'll, restripe. I think we need to bring the striping up to current codes. Some of the other comments that were brought to our attention was as-built for the current existing stormwater system. We've already arranged to have EDs come out and vacuum clean the system, do a camera inspection to make sure everything's operating properly. And joining us today via Zoom are Matt DeMeyers. He's the developer. Pete Schonauer is the civil engineer on the property, and Tim Connolly is the architect. And I'm ready to try and answer any questions. And Matt, Pete, and Tim, chime in if you can hear us, and we'll do our best. Sounds like I might be your person to answer.
I'm still here. I just took me a minute to figure out the mute.
Oh, there we go. That's Matt DeMeyers right there.
And what's
here
it-
too.
Yeah, this is Tim. I'm here as well. Sorry about that.
Okay.
All right, so the way this typically works is we need to hear your presentation first, then we'll lobby questions. So we need to know why you designed the building the way you did. Why was the site developed the way it did? How did it tie into the low country? What are you doing? This is your project. This is your job to present it. Just to be blunt, but, so y'all present it. You can start with site, you can start with architecture. This is a great one to start from, but y'all start it and then we will respond.
Okay, Ted, I'll jump in here. This is Matt DeMeyers. As Ted had mentioned, this is an existing Burger King building, and we are just simply updating that building and turning it into a 2-tenant building with Starbucks for the drive-through and another general retail use. Because we're using the existing building, we're using all the same brick that's already on it. The rendering is not totally correct. There is a darker brick below the water table. And there's photos in there that supports that. So we looked at the elements throughout the low country, and we've done several projects in the Charleston market. And we thought the hurricane shutters addition across those top windows that used to be the playground for the old Burger King was an added element that, could help what was already existing. And we'll be fully updating the landscape, which is in very rough shape. That landscape plan's attached in this packet as well. Again, we're using all site improvements and the building improvements and just repurposing them for a more modern use, more or less. And if you have any specific architectural questions, I believe Tim would be best to answer those, and civil questions should probably go to Peter.
Yeah, and as far as, architecturally as it goes, as Matt mentioned, adding the storm shutters, but for the most part, it's remaining as is. The only thing that we're really modifying is getting rid of some existing mansard, style roof where the existing canopy overhang is, which would be at actually this view that we're looking at here on the left. And just, again, somewhat modernizing it to fit, the proposed tenants' preferences. It just fits their look better. We think it looks better as well. And just, continuing that vertical element rather than having the mansard roof. But for the most part, the existing brick elements, the soldier coursing, all of that is planning on remaining the same.
Rebecca, could you go to one of the existing photos, please? Yeah, so the rendering's a lot different from
Right.
existing.
The shape, the same thing.
Yeah.
And just from a design review board perspective, the prevailing argument of all we're doing is slapping on some lipstick on an existing building, I don't know, is very compelling. And that's all I'm sort of hearing. So, I would expect a state-of-the-art Starbucks design with a state-of-the-art additional retail space, which I don't know if we're getting it. The renderings are different than what I'm hearing. That, we're just keeping the existing, but the renderings don't look like the existing. So I'm confused on what the goal here is. I certainly know my role. Can someone talk about that?
I mean, really, I guess, Matt did mention the brick. I guess the color in the renderings is slightly different. But, we're not changing any of the structural elements of the building.
And why not? Why don't you want to give us a beautiful building?
Well, what they're giving us looks a whole lot better than what's there.
But
Yeah, but
What's there?
I
Are you
don't-
putting new windows in?
Yes,
New windows?
new windows.
Yeah, there is, there's quite a bit of damaged glazing right now. I mean, currently it's boarded up. The condition of the windows are, I think we were trying to evaluate them. I'm sure the glazing itself, the frames appear to be in pretty good shape though, and kind of match what we have.
I think it'd be very helpful if you had on one piece of paper or one slide, the before and the after. You got to think about how we are looking at this stuff. It's very hard to understand. So if you had like this picture right next to the existing, you got to think about how you're telling your story. And right now we're not really hearing the story. No, I'm not trying not to be super critical. It's late, but it's just very hard to understand because really, if you look at that existing photo, I think all you're doing is adding these Bermuda shutters, and that's it. And I mean, if that's it, that's it. But I mean, that's all I'm seeing. And
If you go down to some of the photos of Actually, so yeah, that elevation, we're going to add those shutters. But mostly that elevation stays the same. If you go,
Well, the windows changed a lot.
The windows are the same.
I
No,
think
the
the window,
windows are the same.
The location is the same, but the metal is, you got, don't you have, go to the other picture. Don't you have horizontal bars, button bars and other new windows? Look at the new one.
Correct.
no, I mean, I think.
See,
that
I see a horizontal bar at the bottom storefront.
Yeah.
Well, the existing ones are boarded up.
The existing ones are gone, so you don't know.
But again, the brick doesn't even look the same. I mean,
But brick is the same.
Well, I
Doesn't look that way.
think there's a,
that's what I'm saying. So but we're gonna need to see that look correct because like right there, I look at that and I'm like, oh, that doesn't look so bad, you know, but then I'm like, that's not right because that.
Well, to your point, the brick on this rendering is the same above and below
Right.
that cross, but if you look at the picture, it's not.
Not at all.
On the bottom, it's dark.
Right. So I guess my
That's
point
what you
is,
said.
that's a misleading picture because this is not what this is going to look like. So if I'm going to give you feedback and judgment on something, I need to see what it's really going to look like.
Would you, I guess, would you prefer for it to be how it is existing, or would you like to have a uniform look to it?
We just want it to look nice. We don't care.
Well, I'm sorry, we couldn't, you tailed off at the end. We couldn't
Yeah,
hear what you said.
Understand what he's asked.
And if, I mean, if, I'll ask you, what's your name again, sir?
my name is Ted.
Ted.
Yes.
Are the folks on the phone local?
No.
Okay, it's really much easier if the design team is here in person.
I agree with you.
Very challenging. I'm sure it's challenging to you as well.
Yes.
So it really encourage the design team to be here,
Mhm.
if at all possible. And as far as, I think someone on the phone asked if we had a preference. We couldn't hear what you said.
Yeah, I was just asking if you had a preference, if you wanted it, because again, I agree the rendering isn't quite accurate and, that's our fault there, but our intent was to leave the existing brick. So, and I guess my question was, would you prefer to have that existing brick or would you like it to be, if we stained it to have a more uniform look as shown in the renderings?
I think we really need to have something to react to.
Certainly staining brick is not an option.
Painting brick is not an option. Yeah, painting brick
Okay.
is an option.
If you show
So then
the photograph side by side, we could make it.
Yeah, if you show the photograph side by side, we can react to it more effectively.
And I also want to talk about the Starbucks that,
Yeah,
I think the Starbucks brand is much more upscale than this design. This,
Starbucks actually designed this. They did the initially they were planning on taking over the entire building and they created this design. So
but I
when
think
they decided to,
unfortunately Starbucks has given Somerville nicer designs than this.
Well, this looks better than the one they're building out by Publix on
It
Central
does.
Avenue.
I think there's nicer Starbucks.
This looks better than most Starbucks. It gets back. down
This
to
is a little
their opinions
outdated.
are like, you know what?
Can we just talk
We're
and give an
talking,
opinion? as
yeah, we
opposed
are.
to
That's what we're trying to do.
Arguing?
I will
I get to
say,
talk too.
I think we need Starbucks samples as well. These menus are gonna go on.
so are you representing both Starbucks and the retail? Or
the developer.
the developer?
Starbucks in this situation would come in and just do the upfit as the contractor. I would be revamping the shell of the building and all the exterior components.
So we need to kind of pause and go back to, let's look at Starbucks. We've looked at this one elevation, but I think we need to look at Starbucks because we haven't really, the front of the building, we haven't really talked about that. And we need you to present that and tell us
There we go.
why you did it the way you did it. And sounds like that'd be for Tim's.
Yeah, and again, this design came from the Starbucks team. They were originally going to perform all of the exterior improvements to this. So they came up with this design. I think a lot of it were, cost savings elements. Again, they wanted to, for the most part, leave the existing building as is, and then just going to remove the mansard roof and continue that vertical element using the same materials, and leaving the rest of the building in its current condition. So this design is a Starbucks design. This came from their team.
But so the Starbucks architect is not on the call,
Well,
right?
we work for both of them actually,
Okay,
and we worked with their designers previously.
okay, so I understand. It came from the Starbucks team.
Correct.
What was their motivation and the decisions that they made beyond we're reusing an old building? Like, why did the metal where the word Starbucks is, why did it come down to the flat canopy? Why does this blade come out? What is
That blade
Tell me-
is an
or tell me-
existing element, and they were leaving it. I guess they didn't have an issue with it. Kind of liked it. Didn't want to create any additional, expenses, I guess, in removing it because it would have an impact on the vestibule. As far as extending the metal panels, the vertical metal panels, that's more in line with their current designs. If you look at the majority of their buildings, they're rectangles with a canopy at 10, 11 feet and extend up pretty much as that corner of the building shows. And the existing has that, metal panel on that where the mansard runs into it. They just don't like that look, so they wanted the more vertical extension of that.
All right, so can we look at the existing picture?
From that angle, the same.
From that angle, yep.
I hate that wing wall.
You hate what?
I hate it. It looks like a Burger King still.
No, it doesn't.
With that wing wall, that's what I'm talking about.
I don't think it's the same angle, yeah.
Angle, but this is.
There you go.
There we go, that's, okay.
So y'all are just putting
That was already there.
y'all are just putting a metal cladding around that
Yeah.
blade.
They put it
Right.
there on a peg.
Okay,
Save money.
Just gonna put.
And then also removing all those mansard roofs and then just kind of having a vertical plane, facing the street. All those mansard roofs will go up vertically, and then we're doing the flat awnings around the drive-through window and tying into the front corner of the building.
And Ted, we're getting rid of that drive-through window on that last photo as well,
Okay.
and the mansard roof above.
You do the landscaping.
This is Starbucks on Main. Yeah. I think one of the charges that we have on the DRB is a low country unique design for Somerville. Somerville believes that there is a moniker of low country design. So can you, or in the future, please be able to articulate how you're creating that vernacular, just like you did on the retail by adding those hurricane shutters. They certainly are in the right direction. But then when it comes to the Starbucks, it's not. And there are, I'm looking at a photograph of the Starbucks on Main. It is contemporary. But it certainly has some thought behind it. versus just recladding like it is being proposed here.
Becca, can you go back to that 3D that they're proposing, replacing the mansard roof? Sure, that's fine.
Yeah, currently those bump outs on the drive-through, both of those are surrounded by that mansard roof that continues around the front. And I do think, you know, obviously I'm a general contractor, not an architect, but I think the idea was to clean up the whole front facade of that building and take something that on it. I mean, I think when all these Burger Kings shut down and went out of business 5 years ago or 6 years ago, they've been a, eyesore. I know when we were first brought into this project, the first thing that we got was a blight letter that we jumped on top of to try and make the community look better. And so I feel like this is a good, reuse of this existing building within Raisin.
So listen, I think it is an eyesore. Okay, so I don't think anybody up here is going to argue that, it needs to look, something needs to be done with it. But that being said, we need to make sure that what we do to it, we don't just want to do something to it
Yes.
Again, you're putting a Band-Aid on something. So we'd like for it to look nice as well. And again, unfortunately, Burger King has a look. It's what Justin said. You know what a Burger King building looks like, unfortunately. Maybe some younger kids don't, but I certainly do. And so I'm not exactly sure what it is that needs to happen, but I think there are things that we can do to make this not look like the Burger King building that we just stuck. I don't want to drive by and say, oh, they stuck a Starbucks in that old Burger King building. Does that make sense?
We have enough of those issues with, that used to be a Pizza Hut. Oh, you're from here? No,
No, right?
I can tell it used to be a Pizza Hut.
That is correct.
And I
Yes, you
think to your
did.
point, we have an opportunity here
Yeah.
to make it special.
Yes. And does that make sense? And again, so when you, that we know, again, I'm not exactly sure what that's going to look like, but I think that, we can move forward with this to be that we can try to, somehow get rid of the Burger King look and justice to look like a nice Starbucks and whatever else it might be.
Three pictures of the one that built on Central Avenue across from Publix.
Okay.
Here in Somerville.
Yep.
It's very similar to this.
Yes. Exactly.
Very similar to this. Same lines. Same.
I think we're 100% on board with the redo of this.
Correct.
It's just the way the data was presented, it's very challenging for us
To figure that out.
to figure it out. And that's not our job. To
No,
be
I understand.
candid, is not our job to roll through these and say, go to this one, go to that one. Y'all need to do that.
Okay.
And y'all need to tell us why you're doing it the way you're doing it and not, well, that's what Starbucks wanted. It's like, come on, be an architect. Tell us why architecturally the design is the way it is. What was the aesthetic? What was the motivation? So, and, I don't know if we've given them anything concrete aside of like, here's what we thought, go back and do this. It's just too hard to understand it right now.
We weren't
I
given,
think,
you see what I'm saying?
yeah, we weren't given
Give it
concrete
back.
data. I think proportionally, it looks a little weird having this black panel stopping where it is. And I get it. It's purely functional as well. We're ripping the mansard roof on and putting this to replace it. I get that, but that doesn't mean maybe it needs to be taller. Maybe it needs to be shorter. Maybe the brick needs to go up more. I don't know.
Okay.
I like some of the detail I saw on the other Starbucks. The patio looked a lot more articulated, more designed, more architecturally kind of hip. Maybe this has some elements to make it look a little contemporary or something. I mean, Starbucks does a great job with that. The detailing is not there. If I look at this rendering, just to be, I am going to dial into some specifics here. This shows like pebbles or oyster shells or something like that as the mulch. That's not going to be accepted. The rendering needs to match the landscaping. And if you look at the landscape plans, it doesn't match this. So we need to see accurate drawings. Y'all are trying to tell us a story. We need to see the story. We can't understand the story right now. So the architecture, the plantings have to match the renderings. Just specifically to give you a couple of things, some of the plants I don't think are going to live here. You had hazel, alder won't grow here. You had, and we can go to landscape plan, Becca, if you want, but you have pine trees in the end islands. It's not a good use of pine trees. We love pine trees, but not where those are shown. A more robust hedge along the street. Even this is not clear because half of these plants are existing, but it doesn't read that way. It's got a label that says existing, but it's too hard to discern. All right, is that an existing oak tree or is that an existing oak tree? I can read the label, but it just needs to be communicated more clearly. And again, it's like the renderings need to be more accurate than, because that existing Burger King does have 2 different tones of brick. So we need to see that. Justin, you have any more comments?
No, sir.
Candy, any more comments?
No, I think though that as they work on this, if you would go ahead and continue the cleanup of the site, it might help put your picture together better.
Yeah.
You know,
The pictures were used on that one was very dark on that facade.
but if that brick were cleaned up and all, and the site were cleaned up, they might be able to better put together your presentation. So.
Peter, have anything else?
I would also take a look at your drive-through traffic lane. Usually for a Starbucks, there's going to be a queuing of cars. I think if you look at this plan just with the arrows, it doesn't allow for that. And there's just a confusion along that main drive lane. So I don't know how that works.
And Becca, there's something that I think staff really needs to dial into if these coffee shops are backing up cars all the way onto the street. And that's not acceptable.
You
know, whether the town needs to change something or, that's on the developer.
Unbelievable.
There are stacking requirements, and then, of course, engineering has a lot to do with that part of the review, and traffic impact analysis is only required under a certain threshold. I can't speak to that as much because I don't review those.
Sure.
But I mean, that does end up dictating design. So I hear what you're saying. And if I need to, talk with our engineering staff and get their input, I know it's kind of early in the process to do that because they move forward to their site permitting, which because of the limit of the actual disturbance of the site, I don't know what that process is going to look like. They might not even need to get MS4 permitting, I think.
Well, I think all that's valid. I just want to kind of.
I hear you. I understand.
But y'all may need to think about, and to Peter's point, there's a curb cut on Bacon's Bridge. Maybe that needs to be exit only, because the Dutch Bros, they're paying people to stand out in the road and direct traffic. That's not acceptable.
They have no interior seating, Starbucks does.
Sure.
The Starbucks we have at North Main Market has no queuing. It's fast drive-through.
Okay.
Oh, it's terrible. Yeah.
What? No, that's Dutch Bros.
Those parking lot, it does.
Starbucks does?
Yeah, it does. You can't make the curve.
Yeah.
So that's something y'all need to inform us of when you come back.
Sure. Yeah, we can certainly put together on the site plan the queuing that shows it running all the way down that lane towards where it intersects with the shopping center and still won't interfere with the interior flow of the rest of the shopping center. I think it's probably around 18 cars or so, but I need to have it laid out on CAD to know for sure.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Did you, Tammy or Bill, Peter, anything else?
Nope.
All right. Do you have anything else you'd like to?
No, thank you for your time.
Thank you. They're asking for preliminary approval.
I make a motion to deny preliminary approval based upon all comments.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Thank you very much. All right, next is 902 North Main Street. Don't think they're
I think
here.
anybody's here from the.
So do we need to just defer that one?
Defer until the applicant is present. Yes, that would be appropriate.
Need to make a motion for that?
Yes, please.
A motion for, I'll make a motion for deferral. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All votes say aye.
All
All right. Bill made a motion to adjourn, seconded by Tammy.
Adjourn.
Yeah.
Don't know.
Adjourn.
Yeah.